Me, Dave Crane, we're outside Chef Talks. I'll be running this all the way through 4 days, and we get some of the biggest practitioners of hospitality, of catering, of culinary excellence, and lots of really interesting characters and personalities sharing their vision on what the future is going to be for everybody involved in food and beverage and hotels. Now, this is my room. They join me on the stage with a socially distanced audience, and today we're going to be talking all about dark kitchens. We're going to be talking about the Dubai Food Collective with all the chefs who are sharing ideas and helping each other out during the pandemic to make sure that if supplies go low, even if you're in a different hotel, you still help each other out and supply everybody with stuff to be able to go and open their kitchen and still do the business. We've got a number of different key people who are going to be joining us on this big screen you can see there, from hotel consultants to executive chefs, to people who are dealing with launching new products. And I'll be sitting here, looking out, as you can see, to a socially distanced but very attentive audience. We'll also be streaming it across all social media platforms, so even if you don't get down here in time, don't worry, you've got one more day left, but you can still catch it all online. It's always a pleasure to serve you and share really cool stuff, and this is probably the only event that's going on anywhere in the world of this scale, seriously. Gulfood is the biggest annual food festival anywhere in the world at the best of times, but this year, it's the only one to go to. I'm here in Chef Talks. I'll catch up with you later. Enjoy the show. We have one of the chairs removed. It's time now to get into further our next brilliant chef talk, bringing in a gentleman who's becoming a bit of a legend in the way that he's creating his relationship with the media, relationship with the industry, and also talking about the future of dark kitchens in the Middle East. Please put your hands together for the founder and CEO of Aris Hospitality Consultants, Chef Roberto Segura. How are you? Excellent, very good, thank you. So, hello. With dark kitchens, let's talk about what they are, first of all. How would you describe to somebody who doesn't know a dark kitchen, what a dark kitchen is?
So to start, dark kitchen is not a kitchen without light, that's for
right,
sure.
Right, that's a power cut, it's not the same thing.
Dark kitchen, ghost kitchen, cloud kitchen, smart kitchens, there are so many names for the same type of concept. Basically, dark kitchens are a delivery-only basis kitchen without a facade. That's the main description that you can wrap up in one sentence.
So we're talking about the fact that as people don't go into restaurants in the same way as they haven't been around the world, maybe they haven't, we're leaning on the food distribution services, the Talabats, the Uber Eats, and all the different ways of getting food to people. That means that the same restaurants exist, but they then have to change their relationship with the outside market. How difficult is that to get somebody to convert to a dark kitchen when we're so used to seeing proper feedback in front of them?
So if you talk about, there are two stages for sure about the dark kitchens, the pre-COVID stage and the post-COVID stage. Definitely the pandemic launched and pushed a lot the imminent success of dark kitchen that we're coming to see. Many companies in the US projected delivery-only sales up to $1 trillion per year by 2030. That being said, Uber Eats, for example, that you mentioned, Uber Eats, increased their sales by 102% in 2020 by delivery. So with that being said, obviously, dark kitchens, it has a really great potential for entrepreneurs, for example. That's one model that you really want to push your brand or you want to create a concept, but you don't have the budget to open a restaurant. That's one model. The second model is existing restaurants that are doing very well and they want to expand their franchise, their chains, and to become a chain, And obviously, it's much easier for them instead to open a full operating restaurant. They just open dark kitchens in the key points of the city. And obviously then you have meal plans, you have catering options, you have so many things that you can do from one central kitchen.
So with that, have you found the trend being restaurants that went dark so they could get their normal menu out to people through the distribution services? Or do you find more people saying, right, let's put all the different outlets under one kitchen, and when people order, the same chefs will just prepare that for that outlet and then prepare that for that outlet? What's been the trend, certainly for hotels?
So obviously there are, right now, if we compare in the UAE, there are around 75 to 80 dark kitchens operating. Most of them are actually being used by existing brands. That's the big trend. Obviously, some of them started as a dark kitchen. If you remember a few years ago, the food truck revolution, right?
Yes,
Everyone wanted to do food trucks. So is something happening right now with the dark kitchens kind of similar? Everyone is looking into that. Not many people understand the concept. And I think it's not a new trend or it's not a new upcoming hot thing. It's already happening. So it's time to take advantage of it and see if you're an entrepreneur or if you have an existing brand that you want to expand with a minimum budget is a great option.
Well, there must be a massive amount of resistance from the purists who say a restaurant has to have people in it, we'll just wait and wait and wait. But there must have been a tipping point, maybe after 2-3 months or even before, where people are just saying, they're not coming out to play, we need to reinvent what we do. Did you find that you got resistance from people when you start speaking to them about it? Or was everybody pretty much open but trying to hold back the tide until they had to do it?
To be honest, the biggest resistance on dark kitchens are from chefs. We, as a chef, we also have this resistance to see and to be proud of what we do in a kitchen with proper development, with proper steps, with 20 people operating in the kitchen, as James mentioned, spending 12 hours in the walk-in chiller picking flowers. And then we talk to them about, hey, let's do a dark kitchen. It's kind of, what, I'm gonna sell fried items? I'm gonna sell fried chicken? Like, what are you talking about, right? It's a bit of the mentality that we still have, and the great success of the dark kitchens is totally the opposite. So obviously we are living the era of millennials, and millennials, if it's not everything, they do almost everything through apps, right? From laundry, from dating, from ordering food, from everything. You can do everything through apps. So obviously, if we want to be on trend with that, we need to take a step forward, and that's the future of the dark kitchens, to be based 100% on technology. With so many restaurants closing through pandemic, the dark kitchen is an opportunity to keep your brand existing in the city with a minimum investment, and obviously with much less staff.
You mentioned the branding there. That's something that typically a restaurant didn't have to worry about too much. Because if you're in a big hotel, it's got 4 or 5 different venues in it, one would be a bar, a couple of restaurants, people are going to look at the brand of a hotel and walk in. But the difference with a dark kitchen and going through these distribution services is you are now standalone. People don't buy that because it's in a chain of a hotel. They're buying that because that restaurant sounds like it does good Arabic food or good Turkish food or good French food. And that's why they're doing it. For many of the people in the decision-making process, they've never dealt with that before. How do you get around teaching them, you now need to do social media, you now need to think of yourself as a brand, you now need to get the world to have a relationship directly with you?
So dark kitchens are all based on branding. The main focus of a dark kitchen is branding and obviously quality of food. And that's the big difference with fast food. Right? We are not serving fast food on a dark kitchen. We are doing quality food, well prepared, well executed, minimum amount of items that can be eaten in the comfort of your house watching Netflix, right? That's the whole point. So in order for people to discover you through a delivery app, between 250 restaurants, your branding should be outstanding. So the branding process, the effort that you put on social media, the marketing budget that you have from your brand itself is more than double than the marketing budget that you have in a normal restaurant. However, you have the capacity to do that because you are cutting a lot of costs that involves a normal restaurant. Just to compare, a normal restaurant in the UAE, casual restaurant, will cost you more or less $1 million, 3.5 million dirhams. That's, let's say, 50 cities capacity, depending on the location, depending on the real estate, so many things. You have more or less 30 staff between back of house, front of house. So your payroll goes up to, let's call it 200,000 dirhams. The food costs, the general costs, et cetera, your profit is around 10 to 15% if you're doing well. If you compare all those expenses, and you're selling only one brand from a restaurant, if you compare all those expenses to a startup for a dark kitchen, it stands around 180,000 dirhams, counting the license fees. You have 2 or 3 staff in the kitchen, and you can do multiple concepts from one single location. So you can do 3 brands, for example, from one single location. So the return on investment that you have is much quicker. I calculate more or less 8 months return on investment for a dark kitchen.
Now, for a lot of, especially in the UAE, there are lots of people who are looking to open up their own restaurants. Certainly the government's very generous when it comes to helping Emiratis create their own place. Have you found that they're thinking about dark kitchens at the same time? Or is it still about, I want to have a restaurant that people can come to and see, because it's a very social eating and dining experience?
So if I get proper
what I'm saying is, on the launch of new restaurants, are people thinking dark kitchen alongside restaurants, or is anybody saying, I want to make that dark kitchen first?
So obviously the demand comes for the dark kitchen first as a trial and error process. You know, it's a pop-up, let's say. The dark kitchen concept is not new. It's been happening for long years, but with different scenarios, with different names, and with different concepts.
Yeah, but not to the degree that we have to have them now.
Exactly. So before, if you wanted to launch your brand, you will do a pop-up stand in a mall, a pop-up in Gulfood, a pop-up here and there, a food truck, just to try the market, to study the market and see how the people react to your brand. Right now, you have the opportunity to do it from a proper kitchen, sanitized, with HACCP, with all the permits, and own your own restaurant without a facade, obviously. That right now, during pandemic, people don't even notice that you exist or not, right? When I talk to people about dark kitchens, they say, oh, so you have a restaurant? I say, no, it's a delivery concept, so they don't understand. But that being said, many people are approaching now the company to create dark kitchen concepts first to, let's say, have an venture in F&B without the investment that usually takes.
Now, I mentioned earlier with the Chefs Collective about the people that would be asking a chef to go to their house to cook something as a social event and so on. That must be a natural spin-off and revenue generator for dark kitchens.
100%. So myself, I have Dubai Chefs Collective obviously is a great platform. I'm really happy with them. Big shout out to them. We joined since the beginning, and we are being supported each other from day one. Obviously, sometimes you get a request, and also you put it on the platform of the Dubai Chefs Collective. Hey, chefs, you know, like I have this request, I cannot do it. Somebody's interested. For sure, there is so much demand on private dinners. From different kind of clients, different perspectives. And obviously, dark kitchens are a perfect place because sometimes you cook in your house and then you go to another house to cook, or you do that. But now you have the opportunity to cook in a dark kitchen with all the licenses and then just transfer the food to a private dinner scenario.
So when you're looking at all the clients you're working with and look at all the different brands and so on, what is the trend for people when they want to order food? Is it Italian that wins? Is it Arabic that wins? Is it a mixture of stuff? So if you're going to turn around to a client who wants to open a dark kitchen, what would you suggest that they do first? What kind of food?
So if you see the trends in the market, obviously number one, the winner is burgers in the UAE market, in the GCC in general. And then from that, even though in volume is much less, but the trend, if you see the margins on how much increase in the last years is healthy food. So obviously people became more healthy, more conscious about what they eat and what they do, at least in weekdays. And then the trend obviously is on healthy food and meal plans and stuff like that. I wouldn't do a healthy concept as a first concept. But I will look into that after I have set up my first 2 or 3 dark kitchens. Yes.
Now, you've had a ton of experience in your career before becoming a consultant. Let's just shed some light on how you got to the position of being an expert in consultancy and also an advocate of dark kitchens. What was your experience leading up to this?
So basically, I have been a chef and a business administrator on food and beverage 16 years ago. I have 10 years in the market in GCC and being obviously working in high-end restaurants, casual restaurants, doing consultancy here and there, doing catering as well. I've been awarded as Chef of the Year in 2018, 2019. And obviously, for me, it was a break-even point that say, okay, that's enough. I cannot be in only one kitchen, doing 30 dishes for a year. It's not something that I feel comfortable with. We were talking with Mart a few times ago about when you walk into a restaurant and then you see the same menu after 3 months and you say, okay, there's nothing to eat in this place because you just get bored of your own food. So for me, it was a kind of expand and keep creative coming into my mind and to try different scenarios. So I started to first doing a food consultancy, menu planning. Then I joined forces with different people, with great team members. And then we launched RS Hospitality that actually consult and manage places in all kinds of scenarios from interior design all the way to social media.
Do you think, so right now with all your experience, you've gone for a number of different things to be able to stand there in a hotel, in a restaurant, and say, from your experience, this is what you should be doing. But the difference now is a young generation of upcoming chefs are not going to have that same experience that you have of seeing what the customers are enjoying, chatting to everybody. It's going to be almost like being in a bunker mentality. You think that's going to be a big problem, bringing a new generation of consultants into the industry, or even just chefs into the industry?
So, as James was mentioning before as well, young chefs are a big trouble for the F&B market if they are not well trained, if they don't have a well mentor. I mean, we all need mentors in our life. I have mentors. I'm sure most of us we have a mentor to follow, and young people are just becoming a chef because of the success, because of the money, because of the TV. They don't realize what is the whole process that you need to follow. Me, in my case, in the consultancy, it's not that I stop learning as a chef. I keep learning as a chef every single day. I have a cooking show on YouTube, on Instagram, so I turn to also cook at home, something that I never did before. Every time they ask me, oh, who cooking in your place, your wife or you? I say, always my wife, I never cook. Now I'm cooking at home, I'm developing all these skills with more time, because honestly, time is your precious asset. And for chefs that operate and run a restaurant, we don't have time. We didn't have time before, because you work 12 hours, 6 days a week. Your only day, you just want to do a barbecue and chill in your house, right? So you don't think about anything else. At the moment that you step out of your comfort zone, then you start realizing how many opportunities and how much is there to do in the market.
What have you found are the opportunities that people might not have considered before when you go down the route of dark kitchens? We've already mentioned the fact that you can set up, say, a barbecue in somebody's back garden and do some outside catering. What other things have you discovered about a dark kitchen that is better for the future that maybe didn't even exist as a thing in the old way of doing a restaurant?
So I think the key is flexibility. Imagine that any of you own an industrial kitchen. Okay, you have 100 square meters of kitchen facility just for you. For a chef, it's Disneyland, right? So you can do so many things from one single kitchen. You can do private dinners. You can do and create your own product. You can host parties as a demo, master classes. You can do, obviously, delivery kitchens. You can do meal plans. And I think the key to put out there in the market all this is technology. So technology will help us as chefs to open up the market and to bring our ideas to everyone that is in their houses.
When you say technology, what specific areas of technology have lent themselves to this? The communication type, so you can do it on webcam, do your own TV show, or just the easiest to order by having an app that will go for all the food? What area of technology has been so different and will be the future that you feel?
So I think there are two key elements in technology. First one is social media with your personal brand. I am a true believer that everyone as a chef and everyone as a business owner or even as a employee, you have to have a personal brand. This is the marketing, the best marketing is for yourself, it's not for the company. So you can actually generate sales to your company through yourself. And that's how I started. I built a personal brand around me to let me open my own company, to get me contracts, to put me here today, because I don't have a PR agency that contact me with anyone else. It's all through social media. So that's one key element, the social media element. And then the second one, apps. I've been approached by so many apps, different, sort suppliers, for example, make it easier for wastage of food. So an app, for example, that collect all the waste, not all the waste, all the leftovers of the day, you know, from the bakeries, that they have sandwiches pre-made, so at 4 p.m. they will close at 7. They know they won't sell it, so we put it on an app and we start selling it at 50% discount. So people get the opportunity to buy a really nice sandwich that is being on the day, prepared on the day, but for the half price, right? So it's a win-win situation. Obviously, delivery apps are helping a lot in terms of brand communication. However, I have to say they must drop the prices, the commission base. So that's a hot matter as well to talk and to discuss.
In what way, where's the problem in that? Because everybody wants to make money,
Yeah.
There's less, or it seems like there's less available in the market. Where's the biggest challenge? Commissions, or the cost of food, or the cost of what?
So the cost of food will always be related to your product and to your sales, right? If you don't sell, you don't have costs. The same is with delivery platforms. It's a worldwide kind of fixed rate, but even if it's 5% drop, you know, it will help a lot. Because right now, what they're doing is they're calculating how much you will spend in your rent in a normal restaurant, which is around 30%. So they're charging you 30%. But on top of that, you have another cost. So obviously, the profit that you can get in a dark kitchen is 25% profit after all your expenses. But if that can be 5% increase and make it 30, with 5% dropping from their side, it will be a great addition for us to venture. And keep in mind that in UAE, there is only, let's say, 100 dark kitchens concepts. If you compare to China, they have 7,500. If you compare to the UK, they have 1,500. US, 3,500. So we are very well known in the F&B market right now, but we have a very long ride all the way to, a very long road to develop the dark kitchen system model in the UAE.
When we talk about dark kitchens, traditionally you think about the fact that there's an empty restaurant and the lights are on in the kitchen, everything's being cooked as per normal, but if they go outside, there's nothing else. Is there a better way, do you think, of creating a relationship with the outside customer and the inside of that dark kitchen? Because surely that's the branding that you really need to be able to... The chef's important, obviously, but it's that relationship with how the food's being prepared. You see that as a big opportunity for people?
100%. There is, in terms of socials, the video, what you can actually show, because right now we are in the era of filters, right? So you put a picture and then you never know if you look like that in the real life.
Most people don't.
But with videos, you kind of see the reality of what is happening, right? And if it's a live event, for example, if you have a social media person that can be in your kitchen 3 or 4 times a week, and then can run live videos from your social platforms, people will actually see, because in the live video, there is no way to edit anything, right? So live videos will be a great addition for branding development of the dark kitchens.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the fact that if you go for fast food, which clearly I have a few times, if you go to, say, McDonald's, they'll give you a number, And then you see up on the screen that number is being prepared.
Yeah.
Now it all looks like it's being done the same kind of way. But if you were doing it on a social media platform and ordering your food, and then you could click a button and suddenly the kitchen pops up, and you know they're making your dish, there's a level of fascination for that,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that must be a growth possibility for people, and certainly that would justify the extra expense, because you know how the food's being made. It's not just being taken off a plate, emptied into a plastic carrier and taken to you.
Yeah. And not only that, imagine that I'm sure some app developer will come up with this idea, but I'm just throwing it there. An app that allow you from a dark kitchen or from a delivery concept venue to create and to cook your own food from your phone. So right now, for example, Mille, I have I do events with them. They have an oven that it shows you in a camera inside how your food is being cooked. So you can control actually your fish, your lasagna, whatever it's doing from your bed, right?
Wow.
On the phone. You can control the temperature, the light, the roasting process, etc. So imagine an app that you open and say, okay, I'm going to cook my own poke bowl, right? So I start putting, I'm going to put salmon, but it's going to happen in real life, in a kitchen. And then once your dish is done as per what you like, then it's being delivered to you. So you feel you cook your own food, you chose your ingredients, and then you're enjoying it.
I can see so many complaints from my house and sending it back again if I was that loose on my phone to make your own stuff. With this, we've got about 5 minutes left. Any questions from the floor about dark kitchens? Anybody wants to know more as we're discussing it? Because it's a fascinating conversation that we could go on for hours, and I think it's a huge growth area. Can I just check before we do this as well, how many people in this room are actually chefs? Oh, there's quite a few, fantastic. Maybe even the third or half of it. So for many people, they've had to consider that whole evolution into dark kitchens. I want to put a different spin on it now, if that's okay with you. What I want to ask is, if you are going to a point where you're not coming out of a hotel chain or a well-known restaurant, everybody's got a recipe for doing something at home.
Yeah.
That were taught by their mother, in case of our friends from Bill Bondi. Bibi Bondi, yeah, exactly, yeah. Or you were taught by whatever tradition. Now, here's the challenge. If you can go dark kitchen with one dish, you can certainly get a lot of people who want it, like for Christmas, doing mince pies or something like that. But the challenge, especially in a place like Dubai that's so regulated to keep the supply chain clean and also make sure people don't get salmonella and everything, that's also going to be a problem. It has to be regulated, but there's going to be a birth of people saying, right, buy my dish, because you can't buy it in a restaurant, but I've got it specially. Have you found any of that kind of stuff popping up?
So there is a lot of people that right now during pandemic started developing homemade recipes and homemade products. There is actually an app that sells so many of those brands. You never know if those brands has been cooking in their places or they have been cooking in an actual kitchen, if they have license or not. So obviously a dark kitchen opportunity for that is to come up and contact, those kind of people, let's say 15 people, 15 dishes, you already know well-proof that are successful, then you do everything for them and you pay them a commission of 10, 15% for every single dish that is being sold. So only for the patent. So obviously that's a model of dark kitchen as well that we are experiencing, and I think it's very successful.
But one of the challenges, I would guess, if you're going down that route and you're making your own home food to try and get into the market, is the supply chain has to be, well, you have to make money of getting in cheaper ingredients, how hotels and restaurants would work by negotiating deals. If you're going to a local supermarket and getting all the ingredients, you're not going to make a profit because the prices of everything, plus the travel, plus the cooking, plus the lighting, and even your own staffing, is going to make it unfeasible.
Correct. For dark kitchens, we operate with suppliers. So the same suppliers that distribute to restaurants, hotels, we have the same. We don't buy anything on the supermarkets, but I understand for the people cooking at home or even for private chefs' dinners, sometimes I buy in Spinneys, mint that costs more than a beef. So obviously, to have the access to suppliers is very important. And I saw already 2 apps that they approached me with a list of suppliers that are willing to sell directly to final end customers.
Wow. Well, that bodes for a very interesting future as dark kitchens maybe move out of the hotel chains and into people's homes. Final question, where do you see the future of this 6 months, 12 months, 5 years down the line? Dark kitchens are here to stay. Dark kitchens will overtake restaurants, or do you feel that it will just be a balance like we kind of have right now?
I think there is always going to be a balance because we will never stop going out. At least there is another lockdown. But we will not be happy not going out to a restaurant and enjoy and celebrate our birthdays and special occasion. Obviously, dark kitchens are there to support, are not there to take out business from an existing restaurant, are there to tell the restaurants, hey, we can expand for you for a very affordable price. You can, instead to have one revenue generating place, you can have 6, for the fraction of price that you will pay for it. I see the future being there on the expansion of existing brands, on giving the opportunity to young entrepreneurs that wants to do their own concepts and to want to put their own markets there with a dream to hit and be the next Burger King. So all that, and plus the statistics that says by 2030, year by year and grow, the dark kitchens or delivery kitchens are being grow more than 100%. So that gives us an opportunity for us to explore now, because maybe in 1 year, as you say, in 12 months, it's going to be late. Instead of 100, you know how things happen here, super fast. So instead of 100, it might be 500.
Well, I'll be very surprised if it waits to 2020, 2030 to get to that, because, as you say, in a year's time, that sounds a lot more realistic, certainly in a place like Dubai and the UAE.
Yes, correct. Dubai, it has to be on trend with every other city in the world, and the dark kitchens is not something that they can stop opening and operating. And there's so many investment right now happening that I'm sure it is going to expand to all the GCC.
And certainly when that happens, the experience of ordering from a dark kitchen will be the new battleground. It can't just be a guy in a cap or on a motorbike handing you your food. It'll be the whole food journey from the kitchen to your kitchen table.
Yes.
That's going to be the thing where people will be emphasizing.
100%.
Fantastic. It's been an honor to talk to you. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I look forward to hearing more about your success and future. And thank you very much for joining us. Put your hands together, please, for Roberto Segura. Brilliant.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Wearing a mask and taking it off, it's really weird, but there we go. That's how we do social distancing and safety nowadays, as you all know. Welcome to Chef Talks. My name is Dave Crane. I've got the pleasure of running this room and sharing with you lots of incredible conversations. The beauty of what we're going to do today is our guests are always some of the best chefs, and today our audience are the best chefs as well. So we can say anything, really, and get away with it. Got a couple of guests that will wander in and feel intimidated and walk out halfway through, but that's how showbiz works. So I know that a lot of the speakers who are going to be chatting to me throughout the entire day are already in and making notes and observing. What I will say as well, by the way, if you connect with me on social media, I will be broadcasting each day, actually later on. So you'll catch it first thing in the morning tomorrow. But if you want to contact me directly, then I'll give you a feed of what it is I've created as well. So with that being said, this is Chef Talks. We're going to be going through a number of different things today. I'm going to say that it's a really exciting session that we're going to open up with, talking about the Dubai Chefs Collective. Now, this is an incredible story, and the nearest I can find to it is imagine the food Avengers happening in Dubai. That's pretty much a description of what it is that we're going to be talking about for the next half an hour and so. So in order to do that, I'd like to invite up a gentleman who's already been to see me, and we've already had a chat all about the incredible things that are going on at Bidi Bondi. About Shane Bourne, executive chef, joined by the host of a Chef JKP podcast. He's the executive chef at ME Dubai, and that's James Knight Pacheco. I was almost right. Give him a round of applause. There you go, gentlemen. I'm sorry about Pacheco. Here's the thing. Whenever you're actually emceeing an event, there's two things that happen. There's the way that you read things and the way that you say it. And what you're meant to do is you're meant to repeat something over and over in your head, so therefore you get a muscle memory, so when it comes out properly. And sometimes you don't do that. And as you noticed, That was it. Gentlemen, tell me about the Dubai Chefs Collective.
Well, first of all, Dave, thank you very much for inviting us here. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to represent and to talk about the Dubai Chefs Collective, the Food Avengers, which very much it is. Yeah, it's a fantastic story, all about community and support, and we're really here to showcase some of the best talents in the region, and each one of them has an amazing story and talent that we really want to share. At the same time, it's a bit weird because it's a place that has no ego whatsoever, which is a bit strange.
Yeah, but you say that. Is that really true?
Shane?
Yeah, actually, I believe it is. I think anyone that has arced up a little bit and tried to swing a bit of a stick has been put down quite quickly. They've all been, but also they understood exactly what the platform's there for. It's not about I'm better than you. It's more about how do we help each other.
So let's first start off. And if you just come in, nice to see you. Welcome to our Chef Talks. If you could describe why you created the collective, how you got people into it, and whether you turned around to people and said, no, we don't like you, you can't come to play. Because that must be a thing. And those people might be in the room, but we can't look at them. Okay, so tell me about it.
I think it all kind of started off last year at Gulfood when I met James. And for a little while, the idea kind of been percolating. We'd spoke back and forth. And then we got to kind of a month or so into lockdown, and I said, okay, cool, let's do this. Started kind of developing the idea, building a website, kind of making a logo, and talking to a few of the other chefs that we know in the industry, saying, hey guys, what do you think? Would you be interested in this? And we had a very, very positive response.
Okay, can we just establish this is because there were no more customers left in Dubai and you sat there watching Netflix? Is that what kind of drove it? Because chefs get on or don't get on, but this had a very specific purpose of sharing information and being a collective, almost like a mastermind group of chefs in Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, what happened, obviously, during the lockdown, through social media, there were huge masterclasses ongoing. Suppliers were sending us a load of different ingredients, and all of us were basically doing YouTube or Instagram Live or whatever that may be, and we thought, what an incredible thing to have so many different talented chefs and cooks on one collective, because we don't all know everything, and it's amazing to share so many different talents and to ask, you know, how is this specific recipe made? What is that technique? Without any boundaries and without sort of any animosity.
So there's complete openness. Now, my background of being in a group like that is as a DJ years ago. DJs won't show anything to anybody unless they've got the latest music that nobody can get access to. It's not like, please, have a look at my stuff, because then they start copying it. Chefs, there must be an element of that involved in it, or are you more happy to say, let's just, let's hug it out in a socially distanced way?
I always find that a bit funny, and I spoke to you a bit about my mother the other day. There's a couple of things that I make a whole lot better than she does these days, but there's still a couple of things I can have.
Oh, this is live, mate. This is live. Be careful.
Out.
Be careful, mate.
Expect a
Be
call
careful.
from Mum.
But there's always going to be a few things that, even though I've got her recipe, I can never make it the same way that she does. Everyone cooks differently no matter what the recipe is. So it's not so much about, are they going to make it better? It's always going to be different no matter, same recipe, different chef. It's never going to be the same outcome.
I'm expecting for Christmas for your mum to make you a Michelin t-shirt, by the way, 3 stars. This is for you, because you've done... So when we're looking at the whole thing, by the way, so there must be a number of chefs who wanted to join, but you had to sort of like draw a line. What was the criteria? What is the criteria for joining the Food Avengers?
Well, first of all, I sort of tried to connect the first group, as it were, and I just directly approached them and said, listen, we're going to come up with something cool. Would you like to be part of it? And was very straightforward about it. And I would say 90% of the people that I asked were like, yeah, this sounds really cool. Would love to join. The criteria at the time was basically sort of the most sort of senior chefs within their role, or should be executive chefs or head chefs, something like this. And that's what it was. But the best thing about it was from all spectrums of the culinary field. So it wasn't just Arabic cooking or Western cooking or anything like this. We have so many different types of chefs. It's really incredible. And the profiles that we have If you go on the website, www.dubaishefscollective.com, you can see every single chef that we have there, and they come from all over the world, and they're sharing so many different ideas, and the best thing is, as I said, we're open to sharing techniques, whatever that may be, and the cool thing is that we have 5 of those, on the stage today talking to you.
That's well, 2, but all through the day. Okay, got
Throughout
you.
the day, yeah.
I was going to say I was working it out. Hello, but here's the thing. While you're talking about Dubai Chefs Collective and you're talking about the incredible group that you have here, if it's online and you're having those conversations, there's no reason why you couldn't base it here, but then have hundreds of people all around the world contributing, because at the end of the day, many of the jobs that come for chefs or anybody comes from word of mouth. So an outlet's gone, we know somebody who can fill the gap, you bring your friend in, and so it's actually a really good community for that, I would imagine as well.
Yeah, we've had quite a few long discussions about this. At the end of the day, the collective one day will hopefully branch out more than Dubai. You can set up a few different places, and you will have chefs who've been in Dubai, who've been a part of the collective, who will leave Dubai and go somewhere else and take with them what they've learned. But it is a very cool platform. We have quite a few people that we know have gotten jobs through people we've recommended, or someone said, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, and someone goes, oh, I know someone. And it connects, it helps the industry, it helps everyone around. And also promotes people that maybe have helped you in the past. You can kind of scratch their back once again for helping you.
So I love the idea of the chefs breaking the branding barriers and boundaries of being chefs together. But what happens when you have that conversation above with the GMs who've got this brand saying, this is our advantage over all the other hotels and so on? They might not want to play quite so much.
Well, actually, it's the opposite.
Really?
They want to be involved because there's such a huge spectrum of people that it just draws different people in. So, for example, in the hotel that I'm working at, Mi Dubai, we've just opened up, and we want to partner up with various different chefs. And our GM is open to that because he knows that there's different markets that you can tap into. So it's very, very different. And the cool thing is, again, anyone can share their knowledge and their passion. And it's, for me, I think it's just one of the best things that's happened since the lockdown. And learning so many things from so many different chefs.
Did you say that you're poaching chefs from other places? Is that what you just said then?
Well, not poaching chefs. That's not a technical term. I wouldn't like to call it poaching, broiling, grilling. No. Also, again, during last year, a lot of the chefs were let go from their jobs. So we also help to facilitate to see where they can also get jobs. As we said, it's a huge community.
Fantastic. Now, with that community, I know that when there are supply problems, the community will help by getting access to either sharing materials or getting onto suppliers. That's been a case a few times as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's been many times where someone's just simple ingredients have sent a message and, hey guys, these guys are out of stock. Do you know where I can get some? You have 4, 5, 6 chefs straight away immediately replying saying, okay, cool, you can call them, try these guys. Or looking for maybe a specialty item that you haven't been able to find but somebody else has. Everyone's been very, very helpful in that regard.
And in terms of the other side of it, I mean, that's helping each other out. Do you, as a collective, have the ability to turn around to the suppliers in the industry and drive the prices down or get special discounts or create new opportunities to bring new foods in because you've got more weight than just one venue?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, let's be honest, all of the chefs, they all talk about the different suppliers, and the huge thing that we all really talk about is trust. You know, especially with prices fluctuating up and down constantly, the one thing that we all discuss is who are the suppliers within our remit that we trust, and how can we make a difference to make sure that the prices are kept as where they are. Where can we shop local, because that's now quite a big thing. We have obviously the Dubai Jebel Ali fish farm, for example. That's a huge thing. All the farms that are popping up. So locality now, even though we can get everything from around the world here, locality is a big thing. So we're always talking about that.
And I was gonna push on that. There's been such a big push in the UAE over the last 20 years to kind of reach a self-sustainability level that's attainable in the UAE through all the different hydroponics farms, all the vegetable farms. And in the past 3-4 years, it's come an incredibly long way. And we've also given a platform to a few of the different of these newer local guys who are trying to get on the market. They will send us stuff. We'll showcase their produce. They'll come and approach us. So it's also the ability to help the new up-and-coming guys and kind of push that local market and locals fresher, better. And I think that's very cool. It's a very good sign for things to come out of the local market.
The ecosystem around every restaurant or every locality is so important, isn't it? Because not everything, you're going to need fresh ingredients, and you're going to need it to be given locally if possible first. How does that work out then? I mean, the challenges of being here means that obviously you're running restaurants, you've got a great group of chefs who are all sharing information, that's fantastic, but the economics are really challenging right now. We were just talking earlier how, for instance, this area here that we're in now should be 100 seats. Now is about 20. So in terms of the future of chefs' work in restaurants, sorry to put doom and gloom on it, what's your thoughts on the changes and challenges of a socially distanced eating experience?
Well, number one, it's not forever. I mean, it's temporary. Yes, it's not easy. However, human beings are the most adaptable animals on the planet, so we have to adapt in order to survive, and that's exactly what all businesses have had to do. And all of us in the entire planet are on the same boat. So it's not forever. We understand it's not easy. The economics are not great, but we must take the positive out of the negative. So, and so far, Dubai's done an incredible job with that. And it's a huge testament to the government and to the people of Dubai of how we've overcome it. If you look at the rest of the countries, it's not a bright picture right now, but thank God we're all here. Restaurants are open. We do have a generally normal sort of life compared to what's going on in Europe and other places. So as I said, it's not forever, not easy, but in time we will overcome that.
I understand that, but I'm not going to let you off that answer. I'm going to ask you a specific on that, which is how have you managed to tweak the revenue generation when you're bringing in a third of the people? Do you get them in and out faster? Do you change the menu to accommodate? Do you put the prices up? Do you do more advertising to bring people in? Do you make sure the experience is at top notch and really analyze the experience? What areas have I just mentioned everywhere there? What would you say?
Just copy paste.
What was that last bit, Dave?
Sorry. I think what James said in terms of the adaptability, everyone went into survival mode. What was the bare minimum that was required to be able to keep your doors open? What could you go through? How could you get through those doors? And as you said, as table turns is an important thing, especially with the regulations. People are only allowed to be in there for 3 hours. So if you can get your table turns going, we spoke about this the other day, if you've got a proper value proposition to the customer, they coming in, they getting some bang for their buck, they getting an experience and enjoying what they're doing, that travels quickly word of mouth. If you've got a safe environment, if you've been very strict about following the rules, if it's visual for your customer to see that you're sanitizing all the time, you've got your health and safety checks on the way through the door. All of those things build into it, and you can play with your menu. You can go a little bit seasonal. You could maybe go a smaller menu, doing different specials, different days of the week. All of those type of things contribute to it, and I think that's what can be said for most of us in terms of how we adapted and survived, and now going to come out the other end, hopefully better and stronger for it.
So with that, I mean, obviously turning around the tables faster is an important part of it without tapping on the table as they're having their dinner and just going, and pointing at the door. But certainly when you've got that situation where you want people to be able to turn around and leave, do you think that more people are starting to come out of their house to eat in restaurants now? Or do you find that the sparse tables that you have, good job we've got them because we didn't get more people? Do you have a queue outside? What are you finding?
That's been a constant, like, evolving situation with the changing of the rules and all of that. But immediately you had to go into a booking system. There was no two ways about that. You couldn't have queues outside. You couldn't have people waiting. So you expressly, in your marketing, in your advertising, saying these are the rules you're following. Booking's essential. No tables are guaranteed, etc., etc. And as you go through that, people kind of start to learn the routines, the patterns. Okay, cool, I need to get a table for that time. If not, I'm not going to get a seat. I can't go stand at the door and wait. I'm going to get turned away.
But on the other side of that, once again, part of what we do at the Dubai Chefs Collective, we get people reaching out to us on Instagram constantly. I'm having a private dinner party. Can one of your chefs come to cook? So that's another thing. So yes, we're at the restaurants. At the same time, people are actually hosting their own events in their own houses, safely also, I will say. So that's another cool thing that we can tap into, because we have specific chefs for specific foods and cuisines, so it's fantastic.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's true, I mean, I've worked in hospitality for many years, is ultimately the personalities of the chefs are probably more important now than ever before, for the public to know where they're going, who's there. Before, if you're eating in a busy restaurant and the chef comes over, wow, that's the guy, fantastic. But now more than anything, you can make a relationship with every customer, but it's essential that you make that relationship with every customer, which you might not have had to do before.
Yeah, and I think that's where it builds into getting better, where your experience at a restaurant has to be as high as it can be, has to be sublime. And part of that is there's this mentality that the executive chef's the big boss and nobody wants to talk to him and he doesn't like customers, which is a bit of a fallacy. But if he's coming out of the kitchen to come talk to you and touch your table, how was your food, can I recommend this? You get a little bit of self-entitlement, and that makes your experience a little bit better.
Absolutely. I'm going to open up the floor to questions. If anybody wants to ask a question of the chefs, I see a lot of chefs in the audience anyway, so you probably do it over a coffee or a chat as it comes. If anybody, or you want to embarrass like your friends on stage, and that's cool as well. We've got a microphone just at the back there. It has been sanitized and so on. So if anybody would like to ask a question, then just raise your hand, and you're very welcome to do that. He said, looking at an audience that just, you can't even tell if people are actually watching you with the masks on. It's just like that. But anyway, I'm assuming everybody's here. Here's the thing I want to do, and I want to talk about your podcast in particular. With the way that you're talking to chefs, they're opening up and you run your special podcast, did you find that stress is a major problem amongst chefs, the same as it has been with everybody else? And are they open and honest about it? Because some people don't share that.
So once again, the point of the podcast, for me, number one, was to listen to people's inspirational stories within their industry, number one. Number two, for them to tell an open and honest story of themselves and what they've gone through. We know that being a chef is not exactly the most glamorous job in the world, unless you're a certain caliber. I'm not naming names. Someone like Shane, for example. He's got loads of book deals coming up. However...
He's got groupies.
Yeah, groupies everywhere. Don't tell the missus.
No.
Anyway, the point was, every single person that comes on, they talk about their stress, they talk about their mental health, they talk about how easy they thought it was going to be or how difficult it's going to be in their story. So I just believed that, again, during the pandemic, everyone had a story, right? Everyone had a story. And we don't just talk to chefs, we talk to media people, we talk to food critics, we talk to so many different people, but within hospitality. But sorry to say, I didn't just want to keep it chef-friendly, because otherwise I thought it'd be boring. So I wanted to have also suppliers. I wanted to have maitre d's from 3-star Michelin backgrounds. But the mental health aspect of it and them being very honest actually really worked. Some people, they could really talk forever. Others, within some of the podcast episodes, they were a bit shy because they saw a microphone and they were like, I don't normally talk to people. But it was just fantastic. And this is what actually...
That was Hannibal Lecter.
That was Hannibal Lecter, yeah.
Okay.
Loving a Chianti. But no, overall, we're just about to launch into season 3, which I never thought was possible, in all honesty. But it's just been absolutely fantastic. And again, the Dubai Chefs Collective has been a huge part of the podcast, just to talk about the truth. Because one thing that I really care about is training the chefs of tomorrow. And they have to listen to the truth to get into an industry which is not easy. It's not an easy industry. You're working sometimes 18 hours a day for very little money, but you do it because you love being with the team, you love being with food, you love being creative. But you really need to listen to someone who understands it. People get very, I would say, delusional about being a chef, especially when you're sort of 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You think, oh yeah, I'm going to be on TV. No. You're going to be in a walk-in chiller picking flowers for 12 hours. You know, so you've got to tell them the truth and say, do you really want to do it? And if you do, let me hold your hand, come in, and I will show you everything possible for you to be successful. But if you don't want to do it, then you need to understand.
Final question. The Dubai Chefs Collective, where do you see that being in the future? What numbers you want to reach to? Do you see you opening up different cities as part of your collective structure? 5, 10 years, or even a couple of years? Where do you see it?
I think the long-term goal is, as you said, branching out outside of just Dubai, going more through the UAE, and then where the chefs go, making an international community of chefs, which can create very many cool opportunities. You get celebrity chefs coming in, they will do a pop-up at your restaurant for a while. It will create a very cool community around the world. It also opens up doors and avenues for a lot of other people to be able to experience different places, different type of cuisines, different type of restaurants, just from within the industry. And I think with the collective, one thing that we're going to focus on, it's not always just going to be just chefs. It's going to be a few people in the industry, how we help each other out. I think it's slowly growing, and as I can say to anyone here who's not a part of it, who is a chef, if you would like to get in contact with us, go to our Instagram page, go to our website, go to our Facebook page, send us a message, we'll get back to you. And we want to grow organically. We want to accept people into the group who have something to offer, who want to learn, who want to build onto that community. Because the bigger we get, the more chefs we get, the more information, the more we can learn, the more we get from everyone else. As a community, it just gets better.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And we do want to branch out within different countries and all of that kind of thing. But as we said, just to make it more of a community and to not keep secrets or hide your new recipes and things like this. Because, again, with social media, everybody knows what you can do. But overall, it's about support. Support network, whether it's, again, mental health, whether it's with suppliers, whether it's with trust, whatever it may be with jobs, we just want to support chefs overall.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure finding out about Dubai Chefs Collective and hearing from you guys exactly where things are going to go in the future. So I'd like to thank you once again, Shane Bourne and James Knight Pacheco, for joining us on stage. A round of applause, please. Thank you so much. And all the very best.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, I've given up on that. I've even given up on the lip reading when people wear masks. So we're just cracking on. So, Sandy, great to see you. Now, here's the thing. Sandy and I had a chat earlier, and you should never really chat to somebody about what you're about to talk about, because I've asked all the interesting questions. And so we're just going to go, how are you? Yeah, how are you? Yeah, great. So, Sandy, how long have you been in Dubai?
Should I keep this on?
You need to, keep it on. It's to stop anything.
Right. Okay. So I've been for 8 years, a little bit, 8.5.
Now, your idea about food halls, sorry, where's home before you came here?
Originally Lebanese,
Right.
but grew up in Sweden.
Oh, wonderful.
But then I worked in Norway for about 9 years before I moved to Dubai.
In what industries were you before you came to Dubai?
Always been F&B. Always F&B. All part of areas in F&B. Everything from the kitchen to front of house to hotels, front reception. Every single part of it, really.
Now, the reason I'm asking this question is because I think it really does make a difference in what you're going to be talking about in a minute. So, for instance, when I was talking to one of the chefs earlier, who is an American guy who was talking about Japanese food, and his journey was all the way towards being what he was doing, and it just led in little stages. Like, did anyone see that? No. Anyway, it was fascinating, and he missed it. But anyway, the fact that you've spent all this time involved in food and involved in restaurants and hotels and so on means that when you come to Dubai, you go, something's missing.
Absolutely.
Which
That's
leads us on to
basically
what we're
it
going to see. It all fits in. Fantastic. So tell me about food halls in style and what that really means to Dubai.
So what I always say is that you've always heard the term food halls. Food
No.
halls. I mean, you've
Food
heard it
courts.
internationally.
Food courts
No.
I've heard of,
It's a
but
big
not food
difference.
halls.
All right. So if it's new to you, the difference is obviously that food court is related more to fast food,
Right.
and food court is related more to convenience, while food halls are more a destination. So this is a place that you actually want to spend more than 20 minutes. It has everything to do with the music, to the chairs, to the setting, to the colors, to the quality of food that you're eating, or the cocktails or wines that you're drinking, or whatever is being offered. So I think in terms of as a concept, it is known in the industry. We've heard about it. It was something that was created during a crisis years back, and it's a very important part, especially for the region. We don't have many of them because they usually end up just being another destination or another floor, another mall, but they don't really come together really well. So I think that this is something new that we're entering right now, where we are combining what is a food hall. A food hall is a community within a community that has a sense of belonging. It's a place where you want to come back visiting. It's a place that you have all your favorite foods. You have,
We have to change your description. I understand why you're saying it, but it just sounds like my mum's house at the moment.
Pretty much.
You know, can I tell me if I'm hot or cold of this idea? The concept is it's a venue where people get dropped off. They're not going from hotel to hotel. It's a walking distance experience with lots of top-end quality food outlets, with drinking outlets, I would guess, at the same place, with staging, with atmosphere, inside or outside?
Everything inside, but you obviously have an
because of the heat
outside area.
and stuff in the summer. So literally, for anybody who'd experienced this previously, maybe when we go to Dubai World Cup and they create a mock-up village for you to walk around, this is going to be one inside where the emphasis is on bonding. So like many years ago when I had a life, before I got married, what we'd do, I've come from a place in England called Redcar, which is a twin town with, let's see, a combination of Narnia and Mordor, if you know your fantasy. If not, then it was really funny. And what we had was at one end of this long high street, at one end of it we had a nightclub, and at one end of it we had another nightclub, and lots of bars in between. So on a Saturday night, you get dropped off, and you'd walk along with everybody. It was a big sea of people going back and forth. And so you could literally exist in that one area, and that would be it. Now, what Dubai has always had is if you wanted to socialize and have fun, with the exception of maybe an event, you'd have to hop in taxis between everything. So what you're saying is, in one venue, paradise has arrived.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go.
At some point.
Anyway, it was nice meeting you. Thank you so much. No, brilliant. Putting this together,
Yeah.
what do people find when they arrive?
So as you described it, it becomes a destination. So we are opening a Time Out Market very soon, and that is basically combining the best in the city. So we're building a platform that supports local F&B businesses, some of the best chefs, some of the best concepts, the best foods, and this is a place for them to come and shine, and a place for them to work together and not independently and not just as a competition. At the same time, this is a platform to also shine light on the culture that we have in the city. So everything that has to do with music, entertainment, lots of activations that is combining both the local population, but also the tourists, of course, are visitors. So Time Out Market is ultimately showcasing the best of the city. So whether you're visiting or you live here, either it becomes your neighborhood community spot, or it's actually a place that you have on your list as soon as you're going to visit Dubai.
Now, this place is going to get packed. How big is it, and can it cope with 50% of Dubai going there every Thursday night?
almost. These days we're a little bit, on the edge, but it is 43,000 square foot, so it's a massive space. It has over 600 seats. It has different. It's a very dynamic space. So whether you just want to come and sit alone or you want to be social in the center of it, there's a place for everyone. And we're definitely going to make sure that whether. Obviously, we're going to take all the measures into consideration, which we have already incorporated, and it's just about letting it flow and organically get to the point of its own capacity.
Well, anybody else excited about this idea, about this concept? But don't say much for 10. Well, he's excited. He's going. What's your name? Correct. So Ashish is going. He wants to. Everyone else is going. Nah, it's all right. We've got McDonald's.
Oh wow! So I have a little fan club.
Excellent. Borderline stalker, but he seems like a nice guy. So here's the thing. When you put together an idea like this, and you put together, how many outlets are we talking about?
17.
17 outlets.
Yeah.
When you're putting it together, how do you start this conversation with the powers that be? I want to create a party zone where people can go along, get dropped off, and mix, mingle, spend a fortune, and it means that we're going to do really well financially and business-wise and atmosphere-wise. That concept is fantastic, but it's not happened before. How do you start the ball rolling with that concept to get people to buy in?
First, it's about meeting the other end. So what do people want? And then, obviously, the location. Do we have a community around there? Is it a prime location?
Bahar, isn't it?
This is Souk el-Bahar, yes. So Souk el-Bahar, obviously, that have nearby communities, residential areas, but it also our prime location. And I think it's an area that we've taken for granted. Everyone have been to Souk el-Bahar. Everyone knows exactly where to park, but we don't necessarily go there as often anymore because we're spoiled with choices. So how do we appreciate this historic building that is a big part of Dubai, and how do we shine light on it? And then it's about understanding that this is a massive space where you need to create the reasons for what people are looking for. So you start categorizing the variety, or even look into what are we good at in Dubai. Luckily, we're 200 nationalities, and we are extracting the best out of everything. And I think that that's what we curated with this market, where we say we have the best Chinese, the best Japanese, the best Italian, the best pizza, the best burger, and then these are small businesses that has a beautiful product. It's a strong brand identity, and how do we then combine that together with all their followings? And on top of that, you create, as I said, this community amongst them. So when you start to shortlist, we have so many choices, so it's really hard. But then you shortlist, and then things become very obvious. And these brands are, temporary. Some of them for 1 year, some of them might stay and become the destination itself over many years. And then it's always about finding the new ones upcoming in the market.
Fantastic. So it's almost like a Lego model. You can add bits and take it away as it goes along. Oh, they're from Sweden as well, aren't they?
What's that?
Lego? Is Lego from Sweden?
Is it?
I don't know. Anyway, I think it is.
Denmark,
it might not be.
maybe Denmark.
It might not. Oh, well, that's Oscar. Oscar?
Oscar.
Is Lego from Sweden? See, I was right. There you go. I'm glad
Lucky.
everyone's really impressed. Wow. So with this incredible entertainment center, one of the things I like about the idea is it's taking the best of Dubai, but it's also giving an opportunity to do something that you don't get in Dubai, which is the fact that, and I don't mean disrespect to the shopping malls, but you choose any shopping mall, you walk in, it's the same shops. Same thing wherever you go, more or less. And it's not organically built for you to go, wow, this is different. It's what you'd find on a catalog if you went to that shop in any country. This is going to have a different flavor, isn't it? The music, the entertainment is going to be something that almost feels Dubai organic. How do you manage to make that happen?
You just mentioned it. It needs to be organic. So it's about, first of all, when you combine passionate people in one destination, there's not a lot that you have to do to really make it happen, because you create this energy of people that are doing something out of a purpose. And that's where it starts. And these people have their following. And because you are focusing on a quality offering, you tend to attract a certain audience that appreciates the same thing. But saying that, we're also everything to everyone. So it's very important to make sure that how do you preserve that identity or that certain vibe or ambience that everyone feels as you enter. And I think it's a work in progress. And what's the most exciting things with food halls is that they constantly evolve. So what they were, all places changes, but food halls especially because they have a very quick change. So within 3 months, you see a massive move based on the following that you get and how it just literally just comes together.
I can just see it as a massive social media hub as much as everything, because people are going to want to go there and just experience and enjoy and share around the world. The idea is brilliant. There's a challenge, though, which is when you create a venue, as big as it is, where people are going to go, let their hair down, connect, and say, oh, I've not seen anybody for a long time. What do you do when we're still going to have social distancing, still going to have masks? I know it's a downer, but it's still the elephant in the room. How are you going to cope with that?
So again, it's definitely beneficial to have such space. I think this is a space that allows you to come and be in a social environment, but you don't have to be near people. So we have communal tables that goes across the whole area, and we have obviously dividers in between to control that. We have all the other necessary measures in place, all the floor stickers. We have sanitizing stations. Everything is well planned to make sure that we know that there's a lineup waiting for this as well. So we want to make sure that everything is well incorporated, so you would still feel that social element of it, but you don't necessarily have to engage because you have your distance.
So it's got a Dubai makeover. It's done properly to look after it. Fantastic. Because I think Dubai does this stuff better than almost anywhere in the world. And one of the things I've got to say, I was impressed about it, with all the challenges around the world, when we were told to go into lockdown for 3 weeks, it wasn't that we just ignored. The whole place is getting sanitized and cleaned, and that's why we have the only venue, the only event of its kind like this in the world is happening in Dubai, not by accident. It's almost like we're leading our way forward. And I love that the idea with your food halls is kind of leading us into a new area of hospitality and engagement and connection as well. For those of us who are going, wow, I want it now, can we look online and find samples of how it's happened before?
You can. It's also on our social media. This is a story that started in Portugal. So it was a story that comes from the Time Out magazine, and it was all about what content do we have and how can we bring it to life under one roof. So that's where it started, and a couple of years after a great success, it opened in Chicago, Boston, New York, and Miami, Canada, and now obviously the 7th market here in Dubai. So there's lots of references. It's a global concept. It's a global brand with a local soul, so it adjusts wherever it goes. There is, even on our digital channels, you can see how do you create such markets. So it's a very interesting story.
You do know, of course, that literally 1 month after you open it, there'll be another 4. That's going to be happening everywhere.
I'm counting on that.
But that's actually a good thing, because it raises a relationship that people are going to have. They can hop between them, and it just raises the game of all of the ones that happen.
You know, I think that being a part of a couple of them in the city, I think that every community deserves to have their own food hall, that is tailored specifically for them. So
do you get commission for each time you say that? Is that what it... Sure you don't. Look at that smile. Oh no, I don't earn any money. Hey, bring it up again. Fantastic.
It's all about just really, I've got into that concept and category very in depth. So I really, any kind of food halls anywhere in the world, I think it's a very interesting commercial formula that really brings people to life.
Now I want to talk specifically about the entertainment, because at the moment we were in a Dubai that's opened. We've got a great event here, but entertainment has been held back for obviously the social aspects of people getting too close and potentially catching stuff. To do an event or to do entertainment, what are you going to offer that's different from a band in a bar or even a concert or so? And what are we going to see when we go to your food hall?
Once we can, which I think if we just behave, it's just around the corner.
You're looking at me when you say behave. I'm a good boy.
It's I think it's, as I mentioned, it's also a cultural hub. It's a platform to bring artists in. We're unfortunately not so lucky to have them around and to have them accessible as in any other city. So this will be a destination for them. Everything from creative illustrators to artists to singers. So we will have poetry nights. We're going to have comedy shows. It's not going to be that open mic, so not that regular band, but it's going to be a combination of people that might have the talent, but they've never tried it before, or this could be an entry for them to try it out and just to engage. And it's going to be built up, also tied up with a lot of cultural organizations in the city, which I think the cultural aspect of Dubai is a necessity, and it's something that we really need to push forward. And that is tying up with Art Dubai, tying up with, we met only today, the team down at Tashkil in Bastakia in the old town, and just to see how can we bring the old town together with who we are today in Dubai, and how can we nurture that. And this is basically what we're aiming to do.
Well, the potential bit is massive, and I'm really enjoying every second of this conversation. Having been here for 30 years, I've always felt that that was missing, what you're talking about there. I didn't know what it looked like, what it was called, but I always felt that thing was missing. But one of the challenges for anyone, certainly creatives in entertainment, is that learning curve of getting to the point where you've got something good enough for people to want to pay for. You've got to get to that level. Now, for many of the bands, many of the artists, they come in ready-made from a plane, join a band, do covers, done. You were saying open mics. Now that takes permissions for people to do that. Have you got special dispensation to create that kind of thing there, as opposed to what would happen elsewhere?
So I think a good thing is that we're luckily in joint venture with EMAR, which is also a semi-government. So we have links into the government to make sure that anything that we're planning to do, of course, from the back end, we make sure that it's all aligned with what is allowed.
Helps a lot.
A lot. That's everything.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So with EMAR, I mean, EMAR are such a huge global brand anyway. There must be plans to produce what this is going to be in Dubai to other places, not just in Dubai, but I mean, maybe even worldwide. Is it a model that's being tested for that?
Yeah, this is definitely a global model. This is something that, as much as each community deserves a food hall, each city deserves a time-out market. So in the region, you'll definitely you'll see more of them coming up. We don't have any specifics in plan, but I mean, we see the changes happening in Saudi. We have, of course, our Abu Dhabi next door, Bahrain. There's a lot of, these are, I mean, cities that are also growing when it comes to F&B, when it comes to local businesses. So they start to mature to that level that this concept will fit really well.
And the thing is, when you've created something like this time-out market, it really makes the rest of the city raise its game, because you can't get away with being shiny. You've got to go being shiny, entertaining, with a great atmosphere, if you want to drag people away from that central place. So it is going to take a while for the balance, but that's going to make everybody start thinking about what they do for their customers in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, it's something that we haven't had before, so it's a different type of environment. And it's also an environment that you see over time, you know, some of the brands that you might have chosen in there might not survive that certain environment. It doesn't suit everyone. So
Sure.
there are a lot of intangible elements, a part of it that you have to secure over time. Some of them flies off and this is meant for them, and some not. So there's a lot of things that changes throughout.
We're going to open it up to the floor for questions, if anybody's fascinated as much as I am, because quite clearly I've waited 30 years for a party. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask? Gentleman over there who has been watching you for a while. If you'd like to make your way over to the microphone, because otherwise, I'll tell you if you're getting warmer. There you go. Excellent, getting there. Okay, if you say your name again, and then say where you're from, what do you do, and then ask your question, please.
Okay, great. I am Ashish, and I am Sales and Partnership Manager at Como. We are a loyalty and customer engagement solution provider.
Brilliant.
Yeah. My question to Sandy is this. Of course, it's a great concept. I've been looking forward to it. But in the post-pandemic era, you know, how optimistic are you about the concept, and what do you base your optimism on?
So I think this is going to be the third food hall. I opened 2 of them during that was before the time-out market, actually during the pandemic.
Where?
And what we saw which is surprising. When everyone goes this way, you go the other way. So that's what we did. And we saw an enormous growth because with a lot of the elements that I mentioned, we were in lockdown for so long, we were missing that social element where we couldn't engage. And this is a massive space that you have, a destination where you can go for all different type of reasons, whether you're just grabbing a coffee, you're walking in, or you literally just want to sit there to watch people, but you don't have to have that close contact. So I think it's actually a concept that is really good in time, and especially now after that we've seen the behavior. You don't want to sit squeezed in restaurants necessarily. You might don't want to be approached by anyone, or you actually want to go. Something that was really interesting that I saw during the pandemic is that we had neighbors that came down, never met before, because people are, in a hurry and no one really have the time to engage. It's always, we'll think about it and we never get there. And we saw people from the community connecting together because they were longing for this social element. So if anything, I think this is a time for food halls.
There you go. Ashish, thank you very much for the question.
Absolutely.
So did you want to ask another one?
No, that's about it.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you. You
Thank
said
you,
you opened two before. Which two did you open before?
So early 2020, I opened the Depachika Food Hall, which is inspired.
What?
It's called actually Depachka in
Okay.
Japanese. It's inspired by the Japanese food halls.
In Dubai, or is it?
It's in Dubai.
Oh, okay, got you.
It's in Nakia Mall on the Palm.
Right.
And that's similar to the Time Out. The difference is that Depachika Food Hall is 60% retail. So you have a cheese room, you have a butchery, you have a wine room. There's a lot of different elements, while here is more about the cultural and the dining type of environment. And then by November 2020, we also opened Food District, which is a smaller version of Time Out Market, also promoting social brands. But that concept was very interesting because there wasn't a big thought process before. It was actually how do you reuse space? Because we were very spoiled with lots of space in Dubai. And how do you actually create something out of a already recycled space by providing that to new concepts that needs a platform even during COVID, where they can expand and continue growing. So that was what Food District was, and both of them were very successful. And this is now obviously a different version, because this is more how do we take the good that we have and showcase it to benchmark ourselves internationally to with the next level, world class. How good are we compared to the other cities? And I always say that the way we talk about Katz Deli from New York and Dubai, we want New York to talk about Matar Farm brisket from Dubai.
Yeah.
So we need to exchange. We need people to say, okay, I had the best ramen in Dubai, because we're such a cultural hub that we have the best. We have some really good Japanese concepts. We have some really good Italian concepts. We're so many communities. We're the whole world in this small little area. So how can we showcase that? And this is the exciting part with Time Out.
I love it. When does it open?
Very soon.
When?
There's no, it's just around the corner. I'm talking about weeks, and the date will be announced very soon.
Okay, it's going to be a rush, isn't there? There's enough parking for everybody.
No. No, there is, of course, you have all the, you can just walking distance from Dubai Mall. You have endless of parking in Dubai Mall, and especially the extension. And then you have the Souk al-Bahar, and the communities will be a walking distance. So there will be enough, times to get there.
There you go, fantastic. I'm so excited, I'm sure you are as well. And I look forward to hearing more about it. I'm definitely going to check out the previous ones around the world. And I'm just thinking about the fact that Christmas was a bit of a damp squib for many people, myself included, because you really can't go anywhere. But can imagine how great it would be to experience Christmas at your food hall. And I can't wait till that comes around. It's a complete pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for sharing all those wonderful concepts. And I will hold you to how good this place is when I arrive there. Please put your hands together, Sandy.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Excellent. Gents, nice to see you. Thank you very much for your patience. I did get myself a coffee, and if you missed out on getting your coffee, then tough. But you can still do it from the sides there. And it's really difficult to do, eating biscuits and having a mask and a coffee, but somehow you'll manage to do it. With the mask on, you don't spit out crumbs, but you can't get the biscuits in. I'm just saying. Right then, so we're covering a lot of different things today. In Chef Talks, I get the pleasure of meeting some of the finest practitioners of cuisine in the region and around the world, creating different subjects, different ways of doing stuff, and sharing it with us. We also broadcast it, we stream it, and you can find it across social media platforms with the hashtag Gulfood 2021. Almost a natural follow-in from what we talked about with umami is to look at the different places where you can enjoy umami. So it's with great pleasure in our chef talks, we invite on now to talk about capturing Japanese cuisine, but in a Dubai style, our very special chef de cuisine, Mr. Giovanni Ledon from Akira Back Restaurant on the Palm. Giovanni, how are you?
Doing good. Nice to be here.
Thank you. We had a photo next to each other earlier, and it was embarrassing because I'm incredibly short. And the photographer came over and said, it was you, wasn't it? He came over and said, right, do like, a fist bump to make it feel natural. You looks like you were beating up a child. I'm just saying, when you're very small. But welcome to Chef Talks. Everything we talked about there, when we're looking at umami, were you nodding and knowing, or did you learn anything from the fermentation process?
Actually, I love umami as well. I'm part of the umami army, let's say. I think it's really starting to pick up momentum in this day and age. So.
But it is a thing. It's a big thing, isn't it? I mean, I taste it, and for me, it's like a conversation about vinegar or about ketchup, but it's so much more important to Japanese and the Eastern cuisine.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think, the thing that has catapulted Japanese, Korean cuisine as a whole, because at a certain point, a lot of people didn't know about it, and they were just kind of being very addicted. Like, wow, why is this black cod so good? And nobody, even till this day, a lot of people don't know, but it has to do with umami and the way that it's marinated, you know.
And it's a real transformation between something that's a very basic dish. I'm not saying it's not difficult and it's not a complicated process to create, but the transformation when you add umami through soy sauce or something is quite special for people's tastes. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And for me, the fun part is kind of the way that the different countries do it. So in Japan, I think it's more subtle. In Korea, you go towards the lacto fermentation, which is a bit more punchy, and you can play with it depending on the fruits and vegetables and spices that you use. So it's in Southeast Asia, is a little bit different. So it's just really fun to see country to country and be able to play with all of that.
So where are you from yourself?
So I was born in the States, in Nevada, Las Vegas. I was raised there, worked there, and then my parents are from Cuba, so I'm Cuban American, and came to the UAE about 2 years ago.
The reason I ask is not to do the normal nosy Dubai questions, is because to go specifically into Japanese cuisine, what was your route to that?
So, man, it's actually a really crazy story. I always tell people I always wanted to be a chef. From the time I was born, I can't remember wanting to be anything else. My mom, of all people, she was a chef as well, and my parents were in the industry. And she had two dreams for me. One was to travel, and one was to learn Japanese cuisine. But at that time, I thought it was kind of like probably never
Why Japanese cuisine?
I think she had a real love for it, and she knew it was something that would be very special, like specialized. And at that point, there was really, you didn't see any tall white guy making sushi so I thought it was never going to happen. So it was really funny. At that time, she bought me this set of Japanese chef's knives. It was really crap, actually, but she didn't know any better.
Can I ask you how old you were? Is it like kids get toys, Meccano or Lego, but you got like a crafting Japanese?
Yeah, I think I was like 16.
Okay, well, not so
16.
bad, okay.
But I was using chef's knife from like 8 years old. You know, it's been a long time. So I just kind of had those in a box, and I was using them sort of while I was working. I was working in Caesar's Palace for Bobby Flay in Las Vegas. Went to Atlantis, Bahamas. Came back to Vegas. And kind of looking for chef roles. I was about 22, 23 years old at that time. And people were offering me chef de cuisine jobs. And I kind of turned them all down and was like, I'm not ready for that. So I was working just as a prep cook in Bobby Flay's restaurant in Vegas. And
can I just stop you? For anybody like myself who's a layman, what's the difference between a chef and chef de cuisine?
Chef, well, it's interchangeable depending on the place, but chef de cuisine kind of runs the head chef of the restaurant, top dog for instance.
And you didn't want to take that role because it wasn't specialized the way you wanted it to be?
Well, no, I was 23, and people offer you things, and sometimes you're dumb and you take it, sometimes you're smart and you don't. And I was smart. Well, anyways, one guy I was working with at this place was working for Chef Akira at nighttime at the Bellagio, and I told him I want to go there. I'll start from the bottom again. And yeah, I started from the bottom, making sushi rice and all that, and moved my way up through the ranks again, and here I am.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Japanese food. My daughter, who's 10, has been obsessed with sushi. It's her favorite dish, and it has been for as far back as I can remember. There's a real change in the wind. People adore Japanese food in a way that maybe they hadn't done several years ago. And it seems to be a growing thing. Why is that?
I think that it's become more accessible, especially through social media and especially through social media channels. And there's so many levels now. I think at the beginning, let's say even 15 years ago, there was either nothing and then expensive restaurants, or there was kind of very localized, cheap restaurants and expensive. Now it's kind of coming between the gamut, and people are understanding the ingredients more open to eating raw fish, and it's kind of globalizing.
Is it something that you'd recommend that people can learn to do at home, or is there a chance that you cook something the wrong way and die? Because there's certain things like blowfish, for instance, I believe, that if you don't cook it a certain way at a certain time, when the moon's at a full peak, then your head explodes. Maybe not that dramatic, but there's certain foods got to be done a certain way.
I think the most important thing is, well, okay, first we live in an amazing age now where we have YouTube. I'm the biggest proponent of YouTube because I think you can learn anything you want to learn. And if you have good quality fish that we can find very easily in Dubai, good quality ingredients, we have great Asian shops here in Dubai as well, I think you can do it at home. Maybe not to the level that you would have it in a place like Akira Back or Three Fills or Zuma or Nobu or places like that. But you can do something fun at home. But
there's fun and there's doing it properly. One of the things I have to say, and this is one of the reasons I've liked it so much, it feels like a very expensive and luxurious dish to have, but it can be mega pricey to get access to. But also the same thing, I can go out shopping into the local supermarket and see a dish full of sushi as well. And there's a huge difference in price. Why is that?
The difference is the product, the brain behind the chef who's making the product, and the skill set. So for instance, I mean, if we get a tuna, we need to look at that tuna and we need to say, okay, how is this tuna going to be, how would it be really well prepared today? How will it be really prepared tomorrow? Is it even good today? It might be better tomorrow in the next few days, which a lot of people don't understand. Because fresh is not always the best. Kind of if I just, for instance, a snapper, if we took a snapper out of the water today, filleted it, and made sushi for you, it would be very, very tough, very chewy kind of in a way. More consistency of like an octopus. But as you let the meat relax, it takes on different characteristics. So if you think about that, if you think about the fish, the freshness, and the handling and everything, so this is where the sushi chef's brain comes in, because they need to understand how to use that fish from the day it comes until the day that it's not good anymore. And actually different days lend to different preparations and different styles of cutting even.
So the level of understanding is different in the preparation, and that's why, for instance, if I was to get it from a supermarket, the odds are they're going, we got fish, chop it up, put it out there, but everyone will buy it. Whereas in your place, you've got a completely different spin on the relationship that you'd create for that fish with the customer. That's the way it works.
Definitely, definitely.
So I'm fascinated to find out, and by the way, we're going to be open to questions from the audience as well, because I'm sure they're fascinated too. Your journey and your experience of going into what may have been, I don't know if this is true or not, but certainly when it comes to a lot of Japanese culture, it is kind of a bit of a closed shop. How was it for you to find your way in and position yourself as you have done as an expert in creating sushi and Japanese food?
So, like I said, I got lucky. I feel that I got lucky that even when I went for the interview it's called the Yellowtail, the restaurant in Vegas, the chef was looking at my CV and he was looking at me and he's like, you know, you're going to be on the line and we're really busy and blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, no problem.
Was he a Japanese chef?
He was actually Indonesian. Chef Akira is Korean. And then I trained with a Japanese chef to do sushi. And kind of getting in, it was like being a baby again. It was like my first cooking job. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to move because it's a different kind of movement. When you're in kind of European or Western kitchen, it's a certain movement. When you're in Japanese kitchen, it's a different movement.
What does that mean? You look like you're dancing now, but I don't know what movement means.
So basically, you're like dancing, I don't know, to hip hop, and then you're trying to like learn salsa. It's two different movements, you know?
Okay. So you're talking about the preparation is done a certain flow and a different
Preparation, the way you move, the way you hold the knife, the way you cut, the way you think, everything is different.
So you had to adapt to a Japanese traditional style. Is that what happened to be able to do it? I mean, if you didn't do it that way, would the end result be that different?
Definitely. Every single step of the way, which I think people fail to understand about Japanese cuisine and this kind of things, is you need to understand the basic steps of everything. So even knife care, how you sharpen your knife, what knife you use, all this makes a big difference in the end product because you're not cooking. So if you're cooking a fish or something, well, let's talk about cooking. If you're cooking, it's going to tense up, right, as it cooks. So you can kind of mess up a bit when you fillet the fish or something because it'll all come back together to a certain extent. With sashimi, you're only doing damage. From the time you first put your knife in the fish, you're doing damage to the product. So you're trying to inflict the least amount of damage and touch it the least amount of times.
To the dead fish?
To a dead fish.
Okay.
Because think, the more you touch anything,
the more you contaminate it with the way that you're doing stuff. Okay.
I mean, if you touch even a plant or something or a fruit, it's going to get bruised.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea, but you're not cooking it, so you need to kind of touch it the least amount as possible before it gets to the guest's mouth.
That's incredible. So with that whole experience, what I want to look now at is it's fascinating your journey into Japanese food, but you have a Dubai style of doing it. Now Dubai is brilliant at taking lots of stuff from all around the world and creating something that is of a quality as good as anywhere around the world, but something like Dubai's way of doing it. For instance, we don't say just like that, we say same. Because that makes sense for living here and all the other terms that get used. Why is Japanese Dubai style different from Japanese style?
So I think if we're just saying like Japanese, for instance, in Japan, if you make sushi, you make sushi only. Like nigiri. If you make sashimi, you have like a sashimi restaurant. If you make yakitori, you only do yaki. You know, it's beautiful. They live their whole life to perfect one certain kind of part of it. Now Dubai is more mainstream and we get to play around and there's cultures from everywhere. So kind of coming from Vegas, I always say it's one of the best places to learn because we're really busy and we have the budget to really play around with expensive products or things that not everybody could get.
Yeah.
But what I loved about Dubai when I came here was the dining culture in Dubai is amazing. People really go out to have dinner, they enjoy their dinner, and they enjoy flavor here. So kind of menu engineering.
Just to dial back slightly, why is that different from what you'd get in Vegas? Because Vegas is seen as the party, in many cases, culture, good and bad capitals of the world.
Exactly.
Why is Dubai different? Because there's a lot of parallels. We've got lots of fountains everywhere, just like they had in Vegas and so on. So what is it that's different?
You said it yourself, because you said the first word was party, right?
Right.
Exactly. So in Vegas, we do have nice restaurants. We have Michelin star chefs. We have a lot of the same things Dubai has. But the idea is the party afterwards. So yes, you're there to have fun, live lavish life. You have nice dinner, but it's always like fast,
transient.
like boom, 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 boom. Like we're trying to get to this point. The dinner's in the middle of that point for most of the time. In Dubai, dinner is the point most of the time. Sometimes, there's partying. At the moment, not, but it's more of a dining culture, I feel like, here.
So what we're talking about, the difference between two places is for instance, Vegas, you're going to visit, whereas Dubai, most of the people you get actually live here. Even though you get a lot of tourists going through, it's going to be a different experience. With that, when you're looking at putting together your menu, do you have to make it a more Dubai general menu, or can you just make it very specific for what people would expect from a Japanese restaurant?
I think, so we're lucky that we have a few restaurants around the world, so I have a lot of different ideas to play with.
Okay.
And I have been kind of tailoring the menu since we opened, and I feel personally that Dubai is open to more flavorful, more punchy flavors. So I push more kind of playing with the basis of Japanese, Korean flavors, because Chef Akira is from Korea. So I love that lacto fermentation, those punchy flavors, the kimchis, and then the playfulness of kind of American classics and mix it all in together.
Have you been to Japan to cook for them, and what was the response when you went over with your specialized way of doing it?
So I haven't been to Japan yet, but I went to Korea twice.
Okay.
And had a really funny experience on both occasions. So it's always like this. The first day we show up in the kitchen, nobody wants to help us. And this is, I mean, the first time was the 2012 World Gourmet Summit, Michelin star chefs from all over the world. First day, nobody helps. Second day, I was filleting a fish or something, and I started slicing at a table that was like literally down here. So
Well, to you, everything's like that.
yeah, so I couldn't see. I was just had my head down, and when I lifted my head up, there was like 20 people around, and they were telling Chef Akira, they're like, we didn't think a tall white guy could cut fish like that.
Wow.
So it was like, it's really funny every time. And then after the second day, everybody helps us, and we can be a bit lazier. We have 20 helpers to do every little thing, but it's really fun to go there and learn and experience different culture.
So do you feel yourself that you have to prove that you can do it as well as everybody else when you're taking on the culture in the kitchen of something that isn't traditionally represented by somebody like yourself? You have to prove and work harder on it.
I think I'm always probably I think you need to be harder on yourself as a person in general, because you need to be able to respect that whatever you're doing, since it's another culture, you need to really respect it and try to understand it to the best of your ability. So I really push myself hard to be as good as I can be, skill-wise.
Excellent. One of the things I love about the change in the world, there's a lot through being in lockdown that's not great, but one thing I love about ordering sushi and so on, because my wife and my daughter are obsessed with it, I like it, but not as much as them, is the way that special packaging does come, and it has to be, more so than any other dish, packed in ice, delivered from everywhere to make sure it stays at the right kind of temperature for that whole experience to work. That's so essential, isn't it? To make sure that it goes from the kitchen to the table more so, in a certain way. The rest of the dark kitchens don't tend to do that with their food. Why is that?
I think if you're dealing with anything that's raw, you need to be very careful. And that's actually something that we're talking about in the hotel, about doing takeaway or certain promotions. And we haven't done it because I don't like the lack of control scares me. And the lack of trusting somebody else. You know, somebody might leave it on the counter for 4 hours and then put it in the refrigerator and then have it the next morning and then, oh, your food got me sick. So it's nice, for me, it's very nice to work in a restaurant. And such an open restaurant where I can see and interact with the guests and really see what they like, you know, and how the dish is. Everything tastes different. So if we make it in the kitchen and taste in the kitchen, it'll taste completely different than when you sit at a table and have it with a nice glass of wine or a mocktail or something like that.
So what is the best way to enjoy Japanese food? I mean, I like teppanyakis. I like live cooking stations. I like it all to be put in and the smoke and everything to be there. That's my thing. What is the best environment for enjoying Japanese food?
So I think at these kind of places that we don't specialize in one thing only, I think it's really fun. I always tell people that you can come 5 days a week and we can have a different experience. So one thing I miss is the sushi bar being open. Now we can't have it open because of COVID, but I think a beautiful experience, and one of my kind of guilty pleasures is to make sushi for somebody at the sushi counter, piece by piece, the way it's supposed to be made. So you can always go that route. You know, you go and you just have some nigiri sushi and maybe a few maki. Or you can go, you know, the cooked route. You can go robata route. Or you can just kind of have a little bit of everything, which is, it's really nice to be able to do all these things. I
was going to say, but exactly that point, one of the ways that Japanese food has really reached people is through the yo sushis and so on, where literally it's prepared in what seems like a COVID fishbowl style environment with the chefs and gets put on. And I haven't seen this in any other star restaurant. Travels around, people pick off the dish. That's almost perfect for a COVID world, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's actually way before its time, and I think it'll probably be implemented more very soon in a fine dining way. I think I saw something about robots just the other day, and it makes not robots for service, but if there's a way that you can minimize the impact on people, it could work out really well.
But there you go down a certain question. When we look at disruption of every industry and we look at digitization, do you think, I mean, you've gone from your first, my first sushi set to working in Dubai and creating wonderful flavors and looking after people from all around the world. Could this be run by a robot, or does it have to have a human element to make it work? Not that your job's on the line, I'm just thinking that...
Definitely, I think as far as... For the food quality, the kitchen side, you need to have humans. There's certain things that are very interesting, like sushi robots that do like the rice sheet for you, that actually can produce maybe even better than humans at certain points, just to make the rice mats. But actually mixing the rice and doing it correctly and paying attention, because a lot of people see the sushi like, they're like, how come somebody has to make sushi rice for so many years? But there's a lot that goes into it, because you have to think of the unknown. Not every grain of rice is the same. Not every grain of rice was harvested on this exact day and this exact temperature. So this is why when you hear about sushi
So
chefs,
you can tell the difference between grains of rice. That is a really sort of Zen way of thinking, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah. Well, if you think, okay, let's say you put 1 cup of sushi rice and one cup of rice, 1 cup of water. If you do it with 10 different bags of rice, it'll be different.
Right.
So you need the human element to understand, okay, maybe this was harvested 6 months ago, but this was harvested 2 months ago. This is where the skill comes in.
Fantastic. So,
Yeah.
so what we're saying is, despite what might be happening in lots of other industries, you're going to be safe in your job for the time being, at least.
For a little while.
So where do you see, I mean, we're going to open it up for one last question because we're running out of time with this, unfortunately. Do you have a question from the audience? We're very polite. We're just engrossed and writing down notes and learning everything, which is fantastic. Any questions from the audience? No? In that case, I get to ask another one, which is, where do you see the future going of this? We've already talked about the automation and the robotics may be an element, but it still needs to have humans involved. Do you see more crossovers with Japanese food? Do you see it become more mainstream? Or do you think there's always going to be that element where it is kind of exotic for most people?
I think Japanese cuisine is very mainstream already. I think Korean cuisine has been coming up. And I think it's going to be one of the next big things, just because of the flavors. It pairs well with a lot of different kind of foods. So I think it'll be probably the next big trend, which has already started.
And are you an expert in Korean cooking as well as Japanese?
No, I say I'm an expert in nothing. If you ask me, I tell you I don't know anything. I love them both. My first love was Japanese. When I went to Korea, I really fell in love with Korean food. Just it lends more to the kind of food that I like. So I really like, of course, ethnically Cuban food. I love all food, but I really like Mexican food, South American. So that kind of poppiness of sour and sweet, spicy, it was really fun for me.
Excellent. Well, when you do open up that restaurant with Korean food, I'd be very interested to go to that as well. Meanwhile, just one last question. How are you finding it? Because with Japanese cuisine, with the exception of maybe the sushi bar, it is very much a very individual experience of like you're in your own little world. The way the tables are set out, it's really meant for having your social group, whether it's in sunken tables or whatever, to be like that. Now that's always lent itself to be quite an expensive process because you can't jam in tables. So has it made a lot of difference to your restaurant to have the new distancing, or are you challenged with it economically, same as everybody else?
So I was just speaking to somebody else about this. We're very lucky in our restaurant. So I have a very long restaurant that used to give me a bit of grief because half of it is glass, half of it is not glass. And
right.
But now we actually have almost the same amount of seats as pre-COVID. It just really spread out, and actually more people have a better view now than before. So it worked out okay. We've been pretty busy.
And do you find that you've got the same amount of people coming through or even more who want to enjoy? Because, I mean, the thing about it is Japanese dining is an experience. From the minute you walk in to the drinks are different, the food's different, but it's really an experience. So it lends itself to the direction that you can't order it at home and have the same as you would have in a restaurant. Do you find that the numbers are still up, or do you find they got better, or is it still a challenge to bring it back to the way it was before?
No, I mean, thank God our numbers are the same or even a bit better since we came back from lockdown. So I'm just really happy at the moment. It's been picking up organically very well. So yeah, it's good.
Wonderful, another success story. It's been a pleasure chatting to you about one of my favorite dishes on the planet, and my family will be jealous even talking about it. Thanks for sharing it, and thanks for coming on to Chef Talk.
Thank you so much.
Put your hands together, Giovanni Ledon. Thank you. Brilliant, thank you.
So we took samosa, that is very traditional Indian street food, you know, with all this flavor, with the potatoes, with coriander, the chaat masala, that is the secret of an India, you know, that's perfect mix of spices that, you know, everyone has a different recipe, like lasagna in Italy. Your grandmother makes the best, my grandmother makes the best.
So it's always this.
So this is really a connection between Sardinia and India.
Bernardo, if the audience would like to try these dishes, can they come to your restaurant? I know you're working since 9 years at Massimo Bottura, with Massimo Bottura and the restaurant.
Yeah. Yes, I'm working with Massimo since 9 years, and you know, as I said every time, I really consider myself really lucky, because with him we had the chance to travel all the world. If you think 2016, 2018, best restaurant in the world, Osteria Francescana, is something that, you know, I really, for me, was a dream, and I really still consider myself really lucky to be in charge of Torno Subito right now. And
so the name of the restaurant is Torno Subito.
Torno Subito, yeah.
So remember, if you want to try this dish in East Touch, Torno Subito is the restaurant that you are looking for.
Exactly. Torno Subito is like the dream of Massimo Bottura to rebuild the Riviera Romagnola from 50s, from 60s, you know, the period of Dolce Vita. So everything is matching, from the design to the music, and of course also the food. We used to call our food tradition in evolution. So this is a game we did today, you know, for this presentation, to show the food, the tradition is not something culurgiones has to be with the Sardinian recipe. No, culurgiones can be made with samosa. Of course, yeah, tradition is something that is in evolution, it's not static over there, otherwise our job is finished 100 years ago. Tradition is in continual evolution. And
I feel your passion. Look, I have bookends, really, you transmit. I don't know if you feel it, but he has a lot of passion, yeah? Look, they're laughing, yeah. It's very emotional. Thank you so much to share with us all of this.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
To answer
Else feels the need to borrow some of my furniture here, could you wait until I've actually left? Just as a thought. There we go. I hope you all had a wonderful lunch, or if not, that you're chilling in here and got a chance to connect. It's really strange, isn't it, saying to connect, and we don't actually get a chance to go anywhere near each other with social distancing. It's probably closer to ring somebody from the same room and talk to them. That's the only way to do it. But we've had some fascinating conversations. Welcome to Chef Talks. My name is Dave Crane. I've been given the wonderful job of hosting this area, which is kind of cool. Been talking to some incredible people and sharing some wonderful ideas and things that you may have watched. How many people were in here today earlier? 1, 2. Oh, you were in. Oh, so you actually came back. Oh, that's good. That's a good sign. If you all turned around and said, no, we're the first time, and nobody had come back again, that's really bad for me getting another gig. So I'm more than happy to see that. Were you in for a conversation about umami? Yep. Do you see that? You heard, sorry. Did you know what umami was before? You're just making it up now, aren't you? You realize I can't lip read when you're wearing like a bag. Just saying, you know, pointing's great, but otherwise it's just like you might as well, you know, when planes land and we do that thing with the semaphore. Okay, so with that, not to worry. It was a great conversation while it lasted, but let's move on rapidly because I realize that we've got 2 more great talks. Oh, only 2 more in this room? And then we've got our final day tomorrow. So this is day 3 of so much entertainment and so many people sharing their ideas. There's a thing about this room that I particularly like, and it's the fact that it's not out there. When you come in here, there's a sense of calm and a sense of niceness and a sense that we're going to get things done. And if you missed it the first 2 days, I don't know what it was, but outside with so many, I think it must have been a racetrack or something that had going on in there, because every 2 minutes I'd start asking a question and hear, "Rrrr," and somebody was just, I don't know what they were doing. They're probably just chopping trees. Maybe not the tree, I don't know. Anyway, let's crack on with it. We're here in Chef Talks. We're broadcasting live, so you're on camera now. You're not really, I'm just saying it, but it looks like that, and it gets people excited when I say that's the truth. We're going to be talking about food halls. We're going to be talking about a whole new concept and a way of creating relationships with an audience that in my time in being in Dubai, which is about 30 years, which is amazing because I'm only clearly 21 years old, we've never had anything that is going to do what our next guest is going to be sharing as a concept that's going to be launched in Dubai in the next couple of months. So with that, I'd like to invite on stage from Time Out Market, the general manager, Sandy El Hayek. Sandy, come and join us. Round of applause. Time now to talk umami, fermentation, lacto-fermentation, and meat curation and bacteria. Sounds like a big subject. That's where we're going now. Please put your hands together for Carlos Frunze Turgaev Garza. Thank you. You have a group chief executive chef from Three Fields.
Yes, that's true.
Fantastic. I got that right for a change. I managed to get it. So let's talk about umami. What is umami for anybody who doesn't know, and why is it so specific that you've got to get it right?
All right, so umami is one of the taste buds flavors. It was discovered in Japanese culture. I think umami is between when it's sweet, sour, bitter, and you have that little bit of fresh flavor where you can feel it, all of it. It's unique flavor to it. Umami is, it's very, how can I say it? Imagine of umami, because my talk is about the bacteria, that bacteria actually creates the umami. For example, koji or lacto-fermentation, or how they call it, the wild fermentation, it actually creates that beautiful flavor that we want to have, that umami. Basically, just imagine all the flavors and all the taste buds at one time, it just shoots your mouth. That's how it is.
So with umami, I thought it was a specific type of dish. Is that correct, or is it a specific type of flavor? Where can you find umami, and what would you taste it on? Give me a few examples.
All right, so umami you can taste, the most easiest is soy sauce, fish soya, miso, sake, and that's
sake.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
Yeah. I like miso also. So that's where you can find the umami flavor most of the time. That's why a lot of chefs, they try to work with umami, with miso flavors. They try to work with soy sauce. But all this, it's all the fermentation itself. How the fermentation, it works itself. Because we know that, you might have a fermentation today and you don't even know that, Dave.
Well, inside me or inside my cup? Because
Inside
you're kind of pointing at me when you're saying umami. I'm not sure it's happening.
No,
inside the cup. Okay, go on
yeah,
then.
So fermentation is everywhere. It's in the coffee, bread, cheese, even in the chocolate.
Yep.
So that's what makes the umami flavor to comes up, by fermenting something. For example, soy sauce, there is in Japan place, they've been fermenting for generations. And there are secrets, recipes have been passed by to son to a father and so on. And that's where the umami comes from in.
So when you're talking about it, it sounds, and the way you speak about it, it's clearly such an important part of the cooking experience. But what happens when it crosses over from Eastern food to Western food? Is it done badly? Is it done well? Or is it a natural progression?
It's a natural progression, actually. Umami flavor, all the fermentation comes from umami. It's been there for generations. In the Greek cuisine, if you know garum, garum is like a fermented meat, and it's actually been there for so long time. Parmesan cheese, it's an umami, and it comes from Italy. Here in UAE, local fish sauce, I'm going to try to pronounce correct, it's mihawi. It's a local fish sauce, and it's umami also. It's packed full of umami flavors. What else? We can see in Mexico, there is a fermented beans, been used then for generations, not through the Spain colonizations, but through Aztec culture. They've been fermenting for so long time.
So talk us through the process of doing it then. Is it something you can make in the bath at home, or is it something that has to be done in hallowed grounds and the sunlight has to be just about right, and if anybody talks too loud, you've ruined the umami? How do you do it?
It actually can do it easy. You can do it at home, and I really want all the chefs in Dubai start to try to do it, and do it not just at home, but in their restaurants and the big batches. I mean, like, fermentation is really easy. You just need control points, and you have 5 control points. The first control point is oxygen, salt, pH level, and you have food and nutrition, and temperature. Well, I will try to explain it to you in a short version of it, try to simplify it as I can. So lactofermentation is, as a new thing, I mean, that's what they say by Noma, it's a trend, it become a food trend, but it's been there, as I told you, it's been a history. It's been so long. And I don't think it's a food trend. It's something we've forgotten as a chefs, as a people, as a home cooks at home. You can do it easy. Basically, imagine of lactofermentation, it's a bacteria which is called Lactobacillus. Lactobacillus grows on everything on earth. Imagine you take cabbage. Well, let's take pineapple. Cabbage is really easy, which is sauerkraut. But let's take pineapple. Pineapple already have inside the bacteria sauerkraut. You just need to peel it, cut it the way you want it, put some salt, which is the salt mass, mix it up where you close it down for 2 hours and let this, extract the flavor of it. And after that, you just put it in the jar and you close it, sterilize it and you close it. That's where you take out the oxygen, because fermentation is an aerobic process. It grows without oxygen at all. And after that, you just need to control your pH levels, because after all this process, we create an ecosystem inside the bottle. We create our own environment inside there. Imagine that the salt and the lactobacillus, the bacteria that eats on the sugars and creates enzymes, that's what creates the lactic acid flavor that umami comes from in. That's the process itself. Then after that, you just need to control the pH, which is outside, it should be around 65 to 67. And by the way, Dubai humidity is the best for fermentation, not for human beings.
Inside the house or outside the house?
Inside the house, outside the house, doesn't matter. It's just the best humidity for fermentation. You want to ferment, like fun fact, I was growing koji. I thought I need to create a fermentation chamber. But I just left it in the counter in my kitchen, and after next day, that thing just grows like that, and I was like, wow. I was like, what's that? I was like, this is just beautiful because of the weather. And I will start to research it more and more and understand that because of the sea, because the restaurant Three Fields is located near the sea, and that's where that humidity comes in, and that's where it works really beautiful.
So your role then, because in terms of umami, it can be grown by anybody, it can be distributed, and everyone can use it either at home, I'm guessing, as well as using it in restaurants. Where do you fit in with that whole process? Are you selling it to people? Are you advising people? Are you just a fan of it? Where's your positioning?
Well, I call myself an adventurous fermenter. I'm just the guy, if any chefs over here in Dubai Chef Collective or just over there wants to ask how to ferment and how to create umami flavor and how to build lactofermentation, I can teach you. I can come to your kitchen or to your house even and teach you how to ferment, it's so easy. And I honestly do it for free, not just for money, because I'm really fascinated by bacteria, because bacteria is something different. And I mean, they've been there before us, and they're still here, and they will still be there, even we will not be there.
This is a weird conversation, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, from bacteria
kind of
to something else.
In a COVID world, we say, oh, we've got bacteria, we can have some of that for you as well.
So COVID is a virus, but by the way, this is another bacteria. It's a little bit different. It's a very different process because there's the microorganisms. They're very different.
I understand. With that whole process and the current opportunities for people to do a lot more home cooking, people are embracing it and so on. Give us some examples of where umami would change a big difference to an established dish. When you add umami, it suddenly changes the whole flavor and changes everything.
Let's just do the simple one. For example, avocado and mashed avocado and toast. You can just buy kimchi on the grocery store and add it to it, and you have a most beautiful umami flavor with the cream richness of avocado and just a nice crust of a bread. That's the simplicity of it. Or you can just take an egg and do the onsen egg, which is like a slow poached egg, and just add soy sauce or ponzu. And soy sauce is already fermented flavors. But I try to tell people don't buy the soy sauce in supermarket. Try to go to Asian markets where you actually can find a really good soy sauce, which is, they say in the packet it's fermented soy sauce. It's not produced in big facilities.
Like ketchup.
Yeah, something
My
like that.
wife's from Singapore, so everything you're talking about,
kisap,
I eat all the time, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
And it makes such a difference, literally having a normal dish, and then suddenly with a little bit of that ketchup on top of it, I mean, it just transforms into something exotic and
it just
something
gives-
really special.
It brings the flavor out of it.
Absolutely. For many people, though, I mean, I've got to say, my parents actually aren't so bad. They do experiment a bit more, but a lot of people have traditional tastes. And they don't normally consider spicing things up. I've got a lot of friends who won't eat anything spicy, but umami just adds a different flavor to it. It's not hot, it's not cold, it just adds it's not even a vinegary taste, it's that spicy element that makes a huge difference. What dishes would convert better that people don't know about? Because you must look at lots of different things, add it, and people go, oh, that's so much better.
Well, honestly, sambal is an example because your wife is Singaporean, and sambal will be the most easiest. I create a dish. I mean, like I was doing the research about it and developing this recipe, pineapple sambal, and I was like, hey, can I ferment pineapple, and can I ferment pineapple with sambal flavors to it? And which is I did, and it's just become something else, and it's become something different. And when I let taste to people, the people will be like, wait, it tastes really different. It doesn't taste like pineapple. It doesn't taste like spicy, it's sweet, it's a little bit sour, it's a little bit bitter, it's everything at one time. And honestly, the possibilities of creating umami flavor through fermentation can be done with anything that it grows. It can be vegetables, it can be beetroot, it can be apples, think of it. It can be even a beef and meat and chicken. But there is a different process to it, which is the koji, it's garam situation. That's a little bit different. It's more complicated there. But started with vegetables and fruits.
Okay.
And after that, I can show you how to do it.
Well, we've already established that there's a lot of chefs in this room. Just as a quick survey, I mean, we checked before. How many chefs we have? Just checking now. Okay. How many of you, again, sticking your hands up, use umami on a regular basis? Everybody. Well, you're a Japanese chef. You're going to be able to use that anyway.
He uses every day.
Exactly. That's part of
Same
your
as
job.
me, both of us.
Is there anybody who doesn't naturally do Asian dishes but still includes it in parts of their culinary offers? May I ask it? What is it that you normally cook and what?
Very international food. I'm always experimenting with fermentation and making my own misos and sourdoughs.
So sourdoughs and lots of other stuff that isn't normally. So with that, thank you very much for that. With that whole direction, I mean, there must be a makeover, an umami makeover that can be done on most dishes, but most people don't think about it. Unless you're actually married to a Singaporean, I would never have come across it unless I ordered something specific, maybe a Japanese restaurant.
Well, with this, you can actually create anything, honestly. It's just, as I told you, that Parmesan cheese is the oldest fermentation, and it's been by Italians. I mean, it's not it's kind of fermentation. It's a fermentation and a little bit different fermentation level of it. The Parmesan is one. The Greeks was using garams. They ferment meat, and where else? I think there was I was reading once upon a time that Native Americans, they were using fermenting ducks, not duck skin, but duck feathers. They were fermenting duck feathers. It was really interesting process. I mean, I never...
To eat the feathers?
No, to extract the juice
from
from the
it to
feathers
put on.
and use it in the food. And the fun fact, Noma actually tried to do that, and Noma restaurant, because they have their own fermentation lab. It's a dream of any fermenter to work there or to just be there. They did that, and as they say in their book, which is David Zieber and Rene Redzepi, they wrote it down, it tastes like chicken soup with socks. So imagine that.
Who was saying that?
David Zuber and Rene Redzepi
Okay.
in their book. It's a guide of fermentation to Noma.
Fantastic.
Yeah, imagine fermenting from a small things as a feathers. You can literally do anything with it.
But you can get it wrong, though. Because whenever I taste it, it's a very delicate. Oh, not too much, not too much. Just get it right. When you're making it, can you make it so it ends up going bleh? What sort of process so it just goes too far the other side?
Well, as I was mentioning, it's a control point, and the second is the recipe itself. I mean, like my basic brining, which is I'll tell to everyone to try to do it, is 2 kilograms of any ingredients, 45 grams of sea salt. But if you use non-iodized salt, I suggest you 38 to 40 grams, and that's it. And just massage it. Pack it in a bottle or pack it in a plastic.
Hold on, rewind it. Massage it. You have to sit
you need
over
to
your
massage
fingers.
it. You need to put your finger.
You
need to
talk
give your
to it
love.
as you do
Oh
it?
yeah, you can do that. As a fermenter, you need to do that. You're gonna grow and you're gonna make beautiful babies. Because I call bacteria as a father, but you're a father, but to a billions. Imagine that. It's a really, really difficult process. And you just close it down and leave it at your counter because we live in Dubai and the humidity here is amazing. And you don't need to control anything. And it's gonna take from 1 to 5 days, 6 days, and you're gonna have that little bubbles going on, and it's gonna, because fermenting word means boil from a Greek. So it's boiling without using a heat.
Now, I don't know if it's used so much in it, but it seems, from what you've said, to lend itself very much to Arabic dishes. Do you find that it crosses into the Arabic world as much, or is it not something that normally gets used?
Actually, it is. For example, local cuisine over here in UAE, we can see chibab bread, regark, and we can see legumat. It's a short fermentation process. They are not long fermented, but they short fermented. They took 24 hours because they're all breads, and they try to add yeast to it. And yeast is a fermentation, no matter what it is. Also, the fish sauce, which is local fish sauce, was traded by Silk Road through I think 100 or 200 years ago. And that fish sauce it's something else. It's something different. It's not Asian style fish sauce. I will tell you the flavors are really different. It's more into umami sourness. It's like you took a miso and you took soya and you took cheese and you just combine everything at once and you just let it stay there and it grows. That's kind of, and they use it till nowadays. They actually use it with biryani. They do it to eat with biryani. And also there is a dish they do, mali. Mali is a fermented tuna that is preserved in salt for a year and plus. And they do biryani with it. They do tarit, which is like a stew. They cook with it and they eat it. It's really nice. It's unique flavor. It's not for everyone. It's not everyone can handle that. I'll tell you that.
I was going to say, I'm starting to get hungry as we mention it. But I wanted to say, because we've had a couple of people bringing in, sharing different ideas about the best practices, because typically, in a lockdown situation, you go, "Arr, arr, 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 arr," and you eat lots of stuff to keep yourself happy. Yeah. And then you realize that, maybe M&Ms aren't as healthy as you thought they were. And so there's a drive now, we've been in it for about a year or so, to start thinking more healthy about the way that we eat and the way that we keep ourselves happy at the same time. Are there any dangers of having too much umami? I mean, if you had a pint of it and just said, cheers, umami, that's not good, I guess.
No, there is no dangers. It's a bacteria. And actually, fermentation is so good. It's good for your gut. It's good for your gut. It's reduce your bloating process. That's the one thing. There is a bacteria, because of the lactobacillus, it's inside of it, it goes inside it. Because you know that there was a research was studied, I think, 5 years ago, and they say that our body have 10 to 1 bacteria. So when you're adding the bacteria to it and when you're eating it, it helps your guts to digest faster. It helps to your prebiotics, because you adding probiotics in your gut, and that's what helps you to create that beautiful digesting system. I think it's eating fermenting food or umami flavors is the best thing ever.
So why is it then, if you don't mind me, look at the PR that's behind umami, more people don't see it for its healthy qualities? Because surely it should make more sense to bring it out into the market and say this is really good for your gut. But I've got to be honest, I haven't read that whenever that comes out. Is that something that's done more, say, in an Eastern setting than in a Western setting? Or isn't it marketed like that?
Honestly, it's still going on there. It will be there. If you go to Asian countries like Singapore, or you go to Malaysia or Hong Kong or Japan, it's just everywhere. And
So
they
it's just-
they don't even think about it as healthy. They're just eating it. It's been in their culture, generations and generations. But if we go to US or we go to another country, it's just there as a specific product, organic product, an organic section.
Okay,
A
well-
kombucha, which has been there for so long, and you know, it's just we need to understand that we need to make it more accessible, and people need to be more accessible to try different flavors. That's most important.
Do we have any questions from the audience? I always like to throw it open when we've got a fascinating subject. Does anybody want to ask about umami? Anybody fascinated by how they could add it and how much they should add to their chicken sandwich later to make it tasty? Because I think that we've already established lots of different dishes that could be used. Is it good for kids to have it, or is it not good? I don't know.
No, it's good. It's good for children to have it, honestly.
Are you just saying that because you're a bit obsessed by it?
No, it's not that I'm obsessed. I am obsessed about it, but honestly, it's good to have for children. I think that's where you start to teach your kids how to eat those bacteria and how to make them, to teach them to grow. When they grow up, they will know what they're eating it.
So with that being said, you've already explained how easy it is to make it at home. Why is it so expensive to buy? Because it is an expensive thing to buy.
Because it's a craftsmanship. It spends time. Imagine to make a sauerkraut in Germany. I know that because my grandfather, he was preserving a lot of things when I was a child, and
Your grandfather was preserved in umami.
No, he was preserving and fermenting things
Oh,
during the winter time.
Okay, go ahead.
During the winter time, and he's the one who taught me
Because
to
you were
how to
freaking me out just then.
No,
But okay, carry on.
Yeah. And in Germany, if you go buy sauerkraut, it takes almost for them I don't know, like they say that 10 to 20 days to make a good sauerkraut. They have two different types. They have a winter and they have a summer sauerkraut. Winter is they're using for cooking, and summer they're eating it raw. And the summer it takes longer for them to make it.
Does it, like, for instance, wine or spirits get better with age, or is it a shelf life where if you leave it for too long, you've missed the point? If it's living bacteria, then maybe it just needs to be at a certain point with the fermentation. Or, I mean, do you have like, oh my goodness, this is one that's been there for 200 years, this will be amazing. I mean, take it off and it explodes. I mean, what's
Well, 200 years is too long, but
okay.
you can ferment for more than 2 years, 3 years, and it's safe to eat. I ferment one time kimchi for more than 2.5 years, and that thing was the best thing I ever tried. But imagine for me putting in a restaurant kimchi that is 2 years old, I'm probably gonna cost it 100 grams for, I don't know, 1,000 dirhams, 2,000 dirhams.
Wow.
Because it takes longer time for me to ferment it, so I cannot control all the customers.
So that addition is more of an actual dish?
Yeah.
Wow, you've got to really love it a lot for that to happen. With that whole experience then, do you see a future where we're going to have a lot more umami being added to dishes, or is it still going to stay a very specific dish or addition to certain dishes? Because it sounds like more the world should be enjoying it, but it doesn't sound like it necessarily is.
Honestly, I think everywhere right now, everybody uses umami flavors and fermenting products. For example, one of my chefs sent it to me, miso cacio de pepe, because I want to do Asian-style version of cacio pepe. I really, really like pasta. It's like a pepper and cheese. And she sent me a video of making miso cacio pepe, and I was like, I don't like it. I tried it, and I was like, it's too strong, it's too messy, it's too much miso over there. But I see people trying to experiment every day with Asian cuisine, with European cuisine, with normal cuisine. They try to bring these beautiful, interesting flavors to it.
I've got to ask this question because your name is so fascinating. I love the conversation we've been having. Where is your background from? Because, if I may say, Carlos, Frunze, Turgaev, the Garza has a lot of different bits in it. So
Yeah,
please.
so my mom is Russian and my dad is a Mexican. And I grew up in UAE.
Fantastic.
Since 1996, I think, yeah.
That's a proper the UAE story, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. That's true.
I love that. Fantastic. It's been an utter pleasure spending this time with you, and you've made me want to go out now and eat some umami. Have you seen the suppliers out here? Are they good, are they bad, are they average, or are you not seeing?
I
nothing
actually
doing
never
it?
seen over here. Nobody sells kombucha and sauerkraut over here. I don't think so.
Okay, in that case, during the 5 minutes or so that we have next, maybe we should grab some bits, put it into a bowl, and see if we can make some umami happen. I'm sure.
Yeah, sure. Just give me cabbage and give me salt, and you have it.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us on stage. Please put
Thank
your
you,
hands
guys.
together. Chef
Thank you.
Carlos. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Okay, so next up, I just need to check if Rene is here. Where's Rene? Fantastic. We're going to be talking about the future of patisserie. And for anybody who doesn't know what patisserie is, it's cake-related fun. So, people are walking around, that's fine as well. By the way, if you want to get a coffee, there's a gentleman over in the corner there who makes coffee, and it's very nice, and I've had a lot of it, which is why I'm kind of like excited. So, with that, we've got our final chat with our Chef Talks this afternoon. So, looking at the future of patisserie, beyond sugar, to the next level of delicious desserts without sugar, without fat, and without calories. Doesn't sound like cake, but we'll find out if it is as we bring in now Rene Frank, 2 Michelin Guide from Germany. Where's Rene? There we are. You're allowed to take your mask off if you want to, and there we go, fantastic. Because you're looking so serious on that picture, it was scaring me. I was thinking, oh my goodness, good job it's pixelated. Good to see you, Rene. Are you based in Germany or based in Dubai?
Yes, so first of all, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you. No, but my restaurant is in Berlin.
Wow.
Yes, and I came here for the speech. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And yes, yeah. So I'm from Berlin, from south of Germany, but I went to Berlin because I had the crazy idea of opening a dessert restaurant, which is I would say the most difficult concept of a restaurant what you can make.
Well, hold on, you say that. Let's just throw it out to the audience. How about going to a dessert-only restaurant? Does that appeal to anybody? Yeah, see, it's not that difficult to understand. I love it already. Sorry, carry on.
Yes, the thing is, of course, I mean, we're not a dessert bar or not a pastry shop where you go to have a quick sweet bite or something. We're an evening concept where you go to experience something. It's like you go to a theater or to the cinema. It's about the experience, and it's about to experience how dessert can be if you eat only dessert. Yeah. And as
hold on.
Yeah.
Eat only dessert. Let me just absorb that. That's such. Sorry, carry on now.
Yeah,
That's all right.
So, yeah, the thing is, as a chef, you're always responsible for that what you serve a customer. If you serve a customer a lot of fried food, it's also not very healthy. And if you serve the customer only dessert and you make him, because there's like, you come to our restaurant, there's nothing to choose. You can choose your aperitif, but otherwise there's nothing to choose. So you need to eat like 8 courses for dinner. And I'm responsible that everybody feels still well and is, and also if you wake up on the next days, that you feel good. So of course the sugar what you eat needs to be very reduced, and the sugar what you eat needs to be very well selected. So we said we don't want to use any white sugar. We don't want to use something what harms you. We want to use the own sweetness of the products or natural sweetener. Yeah. And also besides this, to control everything, we don't want to buy any products they contain already sugar. I mean, if you buy an apple or a banana, sure, it contains natural some sweetness, of course, and we try to multiply the sweetness inside. But especially we don't buy chocolate where there's sugar already inside. We make our own chocolate, and if we want to use the chocolate for a chocolate mousse, then we can decide by ourselves which sweetener we want to have inside and how much of it, yeah.
Because that must have been a big issue, because, I mean, for me, going to a dessert place, a restaurant that only does desserts, there's 3 things I want. I want my dessert, I want a cushion so I can put my feet on it, and Netflix. That's me. That's what I want when I go to dessert. With that concept, which clearly I'm going to copyright, when it comes around to doing something like that, you're going to get a real pushback from the community, from people complaining about, you know, diabetes and so on, until you do turn around and say, we've got a different style of doing it. Did you get resistance when you opened it up, with people saying that's not going to be good for obesity and so on?
Yeah, so especially when we opened, the thing was, we just wanted to have a casual place where you can come in, you can have a dessert or 2 desserts, and then also it was possible that you share the dessert. So just like the idea of a dessert bar, this was what it was in the beginning when we started almost 5 years ago. But soon we realized, okay, there's like the request for more, and there's also the potential to do more. And then we said, okay, also we want to use this, and it's difficult if somebody comes and eats like 1 dessert, and another person eats 8 of the desserts. So if you need to see also the dessert always in the context. If you eat 1 dessert, of course, it needs to be more rich and more sweet. If you eat 8 desserts, they need to be more light and not so sweet. So we said, okay, we're gonna skip the a la carte where you choose it. We're gonna stuck with the 8-course menu, or later on in the second seating, we also have a 4-course menu. So this was at the beginning also very difficult, because some people came, they knew me, and they said, okay, I'm gonna go to Rene, I'm gonna have a dessert dinner. Others, they came and they said, I wanna have a brownie. So this was, of course, difficult. And then we said, okay, so in Europe you have the Michelin guide, and this is something very special, especially for concepts. They're not so easy to understand. It's like having a stamp. And if you have a Michelin guide, like one, we are also lucky that we got a second one, then nobody questions something. And since this, our life got much easier, because then the people come and they sit down and we can serve our menu, so nobody questions this and nobody says, okay, but I want to have just like 1 dessert.
Yeah, I don't think anybody I know would say that, but I want to just test one thing. Right, for everybody who's here, how many people are excited by this concept? A couple of people. How many people wish it was in Dubai right now? Not just me, right. What I want to do, and it's just a little test there, we're going to ask lots of questions. I want everyone to close your eyes, and I want you to read through an 8-course dessert menu, what you would have in that 8 courses. And at the end of it, just imagine as he's describing it, and at the end of it, if you feel that's the one for you, then let us know in 8 desserts time. So everyone close your eyes, talk us through what you're going to do. What would I have when I sit there? I'm just thinking now. Tell me about the dessert.
So you want to know what's all in the...
Walk me through. First course, second course, burping, carrot, everything.
So first, we start with some snacks just to get you into it. Because if you get first like a plate on the table, then you're maybe a little overwhelmed. So we start with some snacks, all associated to pastry, to dessert, to sweet things. So we have some little gummy bears. They're made of beetroots. So we cook them in their own juice. With some grape juice, then they absorb the sweetness, and when you dehydrate cooked root vegetables, they get a texture like a jelly. So also you're probably just going to see it on our Instagram account, there's some natural gummy bears here. This is one little snack. We have a little cake which is made with bone marrow, inspired by a dessert what I learned that they serve it in Iran, which is a flan, like a custard, enriched with bone marrow. So we made a little cake with bone marrow and sweet potato, and served this also as a little snack at the beginning. And we serve some little churros, what we serve with the miso dip, which is like associated to churros and chocolates. Yeah. But the churros are made with rice flour. They're very light. They're gluten-free, and they're not so rich. Yeah. And then it starts with the first menu. We had.
So this was just an appetizer.
Yes, yeah, just
keep
to
going,
start.
keep going.
And then we start with the menu. So the first course. Now, just lately we had a preserved yellow tomato, what we cooked like a tomato jam. In this case, because tomato doesn't have a lot of own sweetness, we use some maple syrup to make a tomato jam. With this we make an ice cream, and we combined it, what is very interesting, with a chickpea. So we made a mousse of chickpea, and we used the cooking water of the chickpeas and whipped it like a meringue. Yeah. So also for us it's important that we have approximately 40 or 50% of the whole menu vegan. Like plant-based.
Vegan, yeah.
It's not because our customers request this. It's also, I mean, you cannot say, okay, I just want to have the 4 dishes vegan. But it's important for the well-being that not everything is based on milk products. Just to have a good balance of basic things, yeah. So, for example, this first dessert starts with nice acidity, fruity. We have a little sauce with some olive oil, lemon juice, and maple syrup. And it sounds a little bit savory with the chickpea, but it's actually not. And everybody who knows chickpea, like the aquafaba, the cooking water, knows you can whip it, and you can use chickpeas in a lot of preparations like you use eggs. And I think also in this case we need a balancing, because nowadays pastry, desserts is everything about, of course, sugar and fat. And eggs which are used a lot. I mean, I like to use eggs, but not only in every preparation eggs. And of course, also dairy-free, yeah. And then we have another dessert, what we make, which is eggplants. So we have a cooked eggplant, we peel it and we cook it at a very low temperature. It's more like almost a confit. It's cooked in white grape juice. And then we slice it. And it's really like, we don't prepare the eggplant like a savory product with garlic and herbs and spices. No, we use also some spices, but we prepare the eggplant like it's sweet, like it's a fruit. Yeah. And we combine it with ice cream of pecan nuts and some apple vinegar also, and licorice salt. Yeah. So this is actually a pretty complex dessert, but it's also just to show you in which direction the whole menu is going to go.
Wow.
And the combination of eggplant and licorice salt, which goes in a sweet direction, has a little bit of a meaty taste, yeah. Almost a little bit of umami, but also a little bit of meaty taste. And also, I mean, eggplants are used often as replacer for meat or in vegetarian dishes, so that's like very interesting. And it's just super interesting that you use like products, eggplants or carrots or other root vegetables, and you just prepare them like you would prepare fruits. This gives you a total different
Absolutely, and
thing, yeah.
with that, as you say, it doesn't end up with this incredible sugar rush. It's just a sweet tasting experience.
Yeah.
But anything that starts off with gummy bears is 100% in my bag. I love this whole concept, and I'm just disappointed there's no samples for the whole, well, just for me, but for the whole room to try. With that, though, who's your clientele? Who goes in on a normal basis when you're looking at your customer base? What age, what nationality, or is it just everybody loves it?
Yeah, so it's like very, very diverse. So we have really, we have also a lot of single customers. They come to us. We have a nice counter seating where you can look directly into the kitchen. So it's also good because the food is like also entertaining what's happening. It's not something like not so good for a business meeting because you really the dishes they need your attention. So we have a lot of single customers. They come, of course, a lot of tourists, foodies from all ages. But of course, you need to be somehow interested into food and interested in what you eat. Otherwise, it's not like just going for a cake. Yeah.
Is it possible to sit there and eat 8 courses of desserts and just go, I don't want anything else? I mean, does that happen? Do people not make it all the way for the 8? They get to number 5, and then there's just that big belly and is staring up at the ceiling.
No, actually
kill
not.
Me.
Yeah.
No?
No. So also, because we have an open kitchen, I can see the reaction of all the customers. I see exactly what's. I mean, we're not a very big restaurant. We have like 30 seats, so I see everything what's coming back, or if there's something coming back. I mean, it happens if you have a tasting menu of 8 courses that there is something what maybe somebody doesn't like pecan nuts or somebody doesn't like chocolate or something. This happens, of course, and then if they don't say it before.
You said somebody doesn't like chocolate.
It's possible, yeah. It exists. So I mean, it's like everything. So, can happen. So if then we don't know it, then maybe comes something back. But no, everything is like very, very balanced that you don't feel full. I mean, if you make the mistake and you think, okay, before I go to a dessert restaurant, I'm going to eat a burger before, then probably you can't eat the whole menu. But it's the same if you do it in another restaurant. Yeah.
Well, I love the concept that you've spoiled your dessert by having real food before you go in there. You've got to be empty and go in and experience it. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is the fact that, I mean, I love the concept. Only 30 spaces. With social distancing, 30 spaces? Or social distancing makes it 12, 15?
Right. With social distancing, it makes it 20. Yeah, but then we have 2 seatings. So the first seating, now with COVID, we serve 20, and then this is from 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock, and then from 10:30 on, we have a second seating where we serve 4 courses. This is if somebody said, okay, I want to have more the dessert aspect when I go to Coda, and I eat something before at home or in another restaurant, and then you come for the second seating.
When people fall asleep from eating too much dessert, do you let them sleep or do you move them out and wake them up for the second seating? What I want us to look at here is the potential for a venue specifically like yours. Yours lends itself to being a dark kitchen as well, with the amount of people who are going to want to order that stuff to come and eat at home. Because, I mean, obviously they want to go and eat in your venue because it sounds like you've laid it out properly. But for many people, it's a guilty pleasure they'd like to have just while literally watching Netflix or socializing or doing stuff at home. Do you have a delivery service that looks after them as well?
No, actually not. So when we had the first lockdown in the beginning of the year, of last year, we also started to make some things to take home. to finish at home in the oven, something like this. But it doesn't work. So in our restaurant, the whole thing is about the atmosphere, the informations also. It's just the whole concept is the menu. And it doesn't make sense if you take out one dish or you just eat one dessert from our whole menu. Everything is like made for the fact that you eat the whole menu. And the thing is always, if you give something which is like not finished in the hand of a customer who doesn't know how to finish it, it's out of control, and you can't control it. And I'm like a control freak,
Well,
so I just want no. But it's like it's the same. Then you take a part of a movie, or you go to a theater and you like a special act and you want to play this act at home. It also just doesn't work. It works in the theater. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I accept that.
Yeah.
I do think I'd like to order some in, but I understand. So with that, you've got it in Berlin. There's a few challenges to get it open. You put it together. You've made sure that the menu is user friendly and sugar reduced, if not sugar free. Do you have plans to open more venues around the world, or certainly more around Berlin or Germany?
I mean, I get very often asked this question. So what I don't want is to open up a second coda, because this is very unique and it needs also a lot of attention to be there the whole time. But I'm definitely want to do in the future, like I want to work on an ice cream concept, like on a clean ice cream concept where you really know all the products they're used, where you can really see what is in the ice cream. And I mean, you never can say that something what is sweet like a dessert is healthy, but there are definitely possibilities to make sweets like ice cream not unhealthy. Yeah. And I think there's a big potential with the chocolates also I mean, we also make our own chocolate in our restaurant. And I think there's a big potential also with chocolate and pralines to make them different than they're done nowadays. Because all those things, all those traditional recipes, they haven't changed in the last 50 or 100 years. What changed now is, of course, you get like more artificial ingredients and the shapes of things, the shapes of some molds change, but actually the base, how desserts and pastry is treated and done, didn't change a lot. Yeah, the basic ingredients and also the excessive use of unhealthy ingredients didn't change in the last years. Yeah.
I was going to ask about that because a couple of days ago we had a gentleman called Marcus Smith. I don't know if anyone saw Marcus, the muscle guy came in here, who is an extreme athlete. And he looks amazing. Everything's ripped. It looks like a human skin with walnuts underneath it. Everything he moves just looks all muscly. And he sat in your seat and he told me off about my love of cake. Mm-hmm. And of course, as he's saying it, in one ear out the other, I didn't really listen that much. But there is a real drive in the industry to get more healthy. And this is a thing I find fascinating. You could be the answer to so many prayers with your ability to create desserts that don't actually affect you adversely and healthily, but they still allow the sweet tooth to enjoy.
Yeah, so it's the thing is, what I can't do is to help somebody who has a high addiction to sugar. If you have a high addiction to sugar and you really crave for something very sweet and you get a dessert which is not so sweet, it doesn't make you happy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But
I'll be the judge of that, but carry on.
Yeah. So, and if it comes to dessert, you also should look on the visual aspect. You should look on the story where the ingredients comes from, and this also should entertain you, not only the content of sugar. Yeah, and then it also shouldn't be about the artificial color inside. It should be about the natural ingredients. And I think a dessert deserves to be on the same level than any other savory food. If it comes to starter or to a main course or something, dessert needs to be on the same level. And I think dessert also have the right that you can eat the whole plate, and it's not that you order something which looks nice, which is a party on the plate, but later nobody can eat it because it's too heavy, it's too rich, and it's too sweet. Yeah. So, and I think chefs and pastry, especially pastry chefs, they're responsible for it, what they put on the plate and what they sell to their customers. Yeah.
Now, when you're putting this whole thing together, you talked about there are a few challenges. I want to just go dial it back a little bit to the actual experience of testing dishes and coming up with concepts. I mean, you've mentioned here about the gummy bears, about the cake and the custard with Cheerios, not Cheerios, churros, the tomato ice cream. And did you try a lot of different versions of this and go, oh, that's a good idea, and then you go, oh, that's nice. Did you have to go through that whole experience before it worked?
Yes. So I'm also a person, I'm pretty hard on myself with self-critics. And of course, there are a lot of failures until, let's say, you need 10 trials until you get one trial where you say, okay, that's going in the right direction now. And then you need to have a lot of patience for this. So we have one day in the week where we always work on R&D. So we call it R&D, Day, Research and Development. And of course, it's a lot. And with the dessert restaurants like this, you also need to come up always with new things. The guests always expect new things. If you have a pizzeria, you can make for 30, 50 years the same pizzas, same 10 pizzas everybody likes. But if you have an experimental dessert restaurant, you also need to come up always with new things. Yeah.
Now, typically, when you have a dessert, what do you recommend it should be enjoyed with? With a coffee, with a tea, with a green tea, with wine, or what's the choice of people?
Yeah, so actually, one other special thing about Coda is that we have since the beginning a pairing drink for each dessert. So it's always 8 courses, 8 pairing drinks. So the pairing drinks is around 20 milliliters. And the special thing is that it fits 100% to the dish. This is something what you never have if you have a coffee or a tea or whatever drink or a wine. It never fits 100% to the dish. And this is something what we changed and what we did different at the beginning. So it's like almost kind of a cocktail. And you can choose if you want to have it without alcohol or with alcohol. And we make the drink exactly fitting. So before in the masterclass, I explained also our concept of the pairing drinks, which is sometimes it really is the same flavor in the dish what you have in the drink. Sometimes it's controversial. It's different concepts of the pairing. But this is something what brings you really, if you never had this experience, brings you goosebump. Because it's like so interesting if you have the same experience on the plate and in the class. So.
I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah.
The nearest I've come to what you've just described there is vodka jellies. Not the same at all.
No, yeah.
So every time that you work through each dessert, there's a special aperitif, alcohol, non-alcohol,
Right.
to drink with it.
Yeah, yeah.
That means that literally by the end of your whole experience, you could be a little bit wobbly from having your dessert.
Depends. So for me, it's okay. But additionally, we have also a wine menu where you can choose, we specialize in sake, German Rieslings, and champagne. So additionally, you can even drink a bottle of wine on the side. I mean, if you calculate everything together, let's say 8 times 20, so that's 160 milliliters of a light drink. So the drink, if you choose the alcoholic version, it has around 15%. So it's not a hard cocktail. It's a very light. We just use some alcoholic ingredients to create flavor and complexity. But in total, you have like 160 milliliters, and that's 1.5 glass of wine, what you have in the whole menu. And then additionally, maybe an aperitif and a digestive or something what to drink additionally. So you don't need to be drunk after this. Yeah.
No,
yeah. But also you can, I mean, in case you feel uncomfortable, they'll be always happy to serve the non-alcoholic version, which is equal.
Yeah.
For us, it's always important if somebody doesn't like to drink alcohol or
driving.
doesn't want, or driving, yes, that he has the same experience. Yeah.
Fantastic. In a few moments' time, we're going to invite people down here so we can find on Google Maps we can plan exactly how to find it. So when you're here, what's happening? Who looks after everything while you're here? Have you shut the restaurants so there's people queuing outside just eating M&Ms waiting for you to come back?
Yeah, actually, we do have since November the hard lockdown in Germany, so everything is closed. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then my restaurant is also closed since that time, so it's the second lockdown.
Delivery service. Yeah. Told you, don't do it.
Yeah. No, actually, we started, but we said no. We can't create this experience what we have in the restaurant in a box. Yeah. And then it also needs to be a whole menu. But the restaurant is closed now, and we are hoping that we can open it soon. But probably it's going to take at least until Easter, until the government decides to reopen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any questions from the floor? Because there's me hogging it. We've got see already. If you'd like to, on the back there as well. He's back again. Ashish is really excited, isn't he? We'd like to go to the microphone before Ashish gets there. He'll be there. He started running. Stop it, man. You'll get your chance. Calm down. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, say your name, say where you're from, and ask the question to Rene, please.
Hi, Rene. Thanks for the speech and the demonstration. It was quite interesting. My name is Neera. I live in Dubai. I'm an engineer, so nothing to do with the field, but what fascinates me is to know that how do you think your sector is going to absorb this robotization and, getting all the equipment and all getting really techno? You still think human skills are going to be as important?
So human skills, are they as important in creating food in the same way as robotics, which can replace lots of stuff? Can you see your kitchen being automated, or does it have to have a human touch? Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, thank you for the question. So it's actually, for example, if you work more the way that you buy your convenience products, like already made chocolates or frozen food puree, it's of course easy to work with, and you don't need to have so many skills as a chef, or you don't need to teach your stuff so much, because everybody knows those products. If you make, for example, a chocolate mousse, and you can take your chocolate and you can work with it, or what we do, first you need to start getting your beans, roast them, peel them, and then put them in the grinder to get your chocolate. There are a lot of stages where you can make mistakes.
Yeah, but chocolate just comes in a bar. You take off the cellophane or the silver wrapper. That's how you make chocolate, isn't it?
This is possible to use, but we don't use this because we don't want to have, for the chocolate mousse, we don't want to have additionally cocoa butter inside. We don't want the white sugar inside chocolates. We also don't want to have the cane sugar, which is inside, because there's like always too much inside. Because of course, if you are a chocolate producer, you also want to keep your costs low, so you want to put as much as possible sugar or other things inside. They don't cost so much. And that's the thing what makes it, of course, difficult. We always have a lot of stages where can happen a mistake. So also if we make, let's say, a sponge cake with a reduced juice of a carrot, for example, or of a watermelon, what we do, just to use, for example, a watermelon to sweeten the dessert by making an Italian meringue with the reduced juice of the watermelon. There can happen a lot of mistakes, and you always need to be behind it. So you need to train your staff very well, that they're also interested to go through all those steps.
Got you. So the answer is no for now.
Yes. And then the thing is also that there is like no professional support yet for this, what we do. You don't have, I mean, you have some professional machines to make chocolates, but you don't have the professional, let's say, also equipment for a lot of things, or books where you can read something, where you can read something about the sugar content or different sugars. It's like not easy. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? Ashish, where are you? There you go.
Good afternoon, Chef. Again, I'm Ashish. I've been a former hotelier, and I've spent some years in bakery to bake some items. Okay, my question to you is, I was really interested in this talk show for a specific reason, because I'm a vegan, and I also happen to follow a keto diet, okay? So now with this specific diet, I have a sweet tooth. So I love the bakery products, but now the only way for me to savor it is through my eyes. So I go to the malls, I go to the shop, I can't eat it, but of course I make a point to go there and just see and get excited about it. So my question to you is there a hope for people like me? And if yes, where can I come and have these products?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So actually at the beginning when we opened Coda, we also, it was always possible for vegans to come. So we always wanted to be a casual place where we can cater everybody. The thing is that we also had some people, they said, oh, I'm going now to Michelin star restaurant and I don't get some chocolates at the end, or I don't get some snacks at the beginning. So we said, okay, we need to serve the same thing for everybody. There's nothing to choose. So everybody gets some snacks, everybody gets some chocolate at the end, and everybody gets the 8 courses or later on the 4 courses. And the thing is that we can't make this whole experience with, let's say in total, I think it's around 6 snacks or even more, and the 8 courses. We can't make this all in vegan. We could, but then it needs to be for everybody. And we have some like products what we use is a cheese, or also sometimes, what I said before, some bone marrow, or sometimes even a little bit of a fish. We can replace it, but it's not the same. And I can't, especially in the dessert dinner, I can't make a dessert dinner vegan with a whole over holistic experience that everybody is happy. I can do it for you, I can do it for 30 people in the restaurant, but somebody who is like not vegan would appreciate it more to have also some cheese or a little bit other products. Yeah. But it's definitely, and I love to make the things vegan. As I said before, 50% of the things are vegan, what we do. It's just also, for us, Michelin was very important that everybody accepts our concept, yeah. But I think we have in Germany one Michelin star restaurant which is completely vegan. But it's just difficult if you want to go for that and say, okay, 2 Michelin stars to make everything vegan. Yeah. But I'm very interested, and I think there's going to be a higher request also in the future to make especially ice cream vegan. And my dream is also to make like a completely full, I call it plant-based ice cream shop. Yeah. And especially in Berlin, there's like a huge request for that. Yeah. Yeah.
I bet there is. So there you go. All you got to do is get your ticket now and wait until lockdown's changed in Berlin, and just keep stalking Rene until he goes back home and you get your ice cream. So
Absolutely.
it's perfect. Thanks again, Ashish.
Thank you, Dave.
Brilliant.
Thank you,
So with that, that's almost our last question. We can take one last question from the audience. If anybody wants to ask it, because I'll donate it to the audience if they want to ask. No, nothing here. Okay, I want to ask a question, which is the future of your whole concept restaurant. Do you see these popping up worldwide? Are you going to hold them into Berlin and just spoil it for everybody? Because I can tell, how many people, if it was in Dubai, would go there tonight? Be honest. Look, there you go. I've got 2 hands up. I go, this lady wouldn't go. You're nodding, yes, she is. She goes, no, I wouldn't go. Give me the burger. So everyone would go if it's in Dubai. Why do we not have one? That's really selfish, Rene. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what we do is you need a lot of research and it's a lot of work. So I would not recommend anybody to make a concept like we do. For us, it was important to go with everything a little bit over the top, also with the chocolate production, just to get attention. And we get the attention. Also, we get a rating with Michelin, and that makes everything possible. And now the next step would be that, as I said, an ice cream concept with this philosophy, or a pastry shop with this philosophy, or chocolates with this philosophy. That you think about, okay, chocolate, what is the most important thing about a chocolate? That it's like very shiny, or that it's like very colored, or that it's like a good ingredient what you use. I think in the future is also the thing about ice cream or chocolates or dessert, especially about the ingredients what you use. And we have there a big movement in Germany, and especially in Berlin, that everything is about the products, and you want to know what you eat. This starts more in the savory part, but I want to make it also happen in the pastry. Yeah. Also, you go to a pastry shop and you just don't buy the most colorful and most shiny piece. No, you buy the piece where you know where the ingredients are from and how much sugar is inside and what else is inside. Yeah. And that's my vision. I don't want that, or I don't recommend everybody to make the desserts like I do them. But I recommend people to be open and to get inspired by this, and maybe think next time when you use sugar, what exactly you're actually using there. Yeah.
So just to answer that question, just to clarify, if we contact everybody we know and raise some money, would you bring one to Dubai?
Like my restaurant?
Yeah.
No, actually not.
You wouldn't?
No.
Well, we were getting on so
I
well.
would love, honestly, I would love to, I think also for Dubai, a restaurant concept would not be a tasting menu with dessert. I would say it would be more like a pastry or dessert shop where you can have 1 or 2 desserts, also with coffee and tea. I think that would be super interesting. And just desserts, they are good for you. They're not bad for you, and where you can eat them without feeling bad. In the body or in your brain.
No,
yeah.
I don't feel bad,
Yeah.
but it's great. We'll take what we can get anyway.
Yeah.
Rene Frank, it's been a pleasure. What's the name of your restaurant in?
Coda.
Spelt?
C-O-D-A. So it comes from the Italian music language, and coda is the last part of a song, like the classic dessert is the last part of a menu. Yeah.
Perfect.
There's a name comes
So for
from
everybody, Coda, Google and drool. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Rene Frank, what a great concept. We might get him one day, but give it up for him. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excellent, wonderful, very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you. So. That's it, all done and dusted. I'm exhausted. It's been a long old day. Had some incredible conversations, met some really cool people, and as you can see, I look like I should be going back to bed, but that's not everything. I've still got so much to do to get ready for tomorrow, and that's our final day, day 4 here in Chef Talks. Some more incredible people to talk to, finding out what's going on in the culinary excellence that makes a huge difference for those in lockdown and those coming out of it and want to start launching a business that can help cater and feed the millions and billions of people out there. But what's going to happen next? The only way to find out is when we talk to the chefs here at Gulfood with Chef Talks. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll catch you tomorrow for another one. Stay safe. Bye. The Brand New You program is based on the 10 rules that I've been sharing with the biggest names across the planet. Ten mind programming presuppositions using NLP and hypnosis, life coaching and counseling techniques, all bringing together emotional intelligence and empathy to empower people to believe that they can do what they truly need to do to get themselves to brand new successes. This incredibly interesting and interactive presentation guarantees they start thinking differently from the moment we begin. Firstly, you have to get outside of your comfort zone. Once you can do that, you can do anything. Most people don't know they have all the tools, all the tricks, all the abilities and all the skill sets to be able to move forward. Success changes for everybody and is always a work in progress. The 10 rules of success are all presuppositions that when taken in context can give you the ability to take any situation, however dire and disappointing, however depressed and challenging it is, and find a simple way of getting your way forward. But it's not just me in front of a giant PowerPoint screen, there's also a ton of fun with interactive videos that they will love. Some of them are really cute. Some put their lives really into perspective.
How do you keep yourself psychologically healthy in space?
It's also interactive with lots of thrills, spills and laughs.
Yes.
They also get a special gift, something to reprogram and help them on their journey. The Brand New You NLP audio program.
My name is Dave Crane. We've never had a time where so many people feel so lonely, so isolated, so helpless, and so scared. Worried about their jobs, worried about their future, worried about their family, worried about their health. That's why I've created this audio. As a hypnotherapist, I've helped many people to create success in their business life, in their personal life, and in their emotional stability. Imagine being able to talk to the very best of you in the past, the most successful version of you, and getting them to advise you on how you need to move forward. And being able to talk to the future version of you who's already lived through this and had the success that you could have dreamed of, who's telling you what they did next. This audio is designed to give you both of them as your mentors and to help you create a brand new you. Enjoy, and please share with those who you know need it as well. My name is Dave Crane.